Welcome to the July 10th Appeal Committee. This is the regular meeting agenda. We've got two items on the agenda. I want to call the meeting to order, and I want to also acknowledge that the territory we're on. We are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis, where we get our drinking water from Treaty 3 territory. Also, Shoal Lake 40, beautiful Shoal Lake. Wish I was there today, in fact. We need a motion on the minutes of the previous meeting, so moved by Councillor Duncan, and that was absolutely unanimous because all of you wanted to move that. And then we'll head right into the appeal on the conditional use and variance. Oh, we'll also have a motion for Councillor Lord to appear for this meeting online. That was also carried unanimously, and then we'll head into the appeal for the conditional use and variance at 890 Archibald Street in the St. Boniface Ward. I'll just give a brief intro. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the appellant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the appeal. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the appellant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, at that time, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item number 1. Councillor Lard.
I just want to make sure I wasn't part of any prior public hearing body on this.
This is a new application, Councillor, so you're okay to hear this one.
Thanks.
Item number 1 is an appeal against the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development to approve a conditional use for 890 Archibald Street under file DCU 146452A/2024C. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 2 is an appeal against the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development to approve a variance for 890 Archibald Street under file DAV 146459A/2024C. Members of committee, please note communications were received in support of and in opposition to the appeal, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. And we'll have a brief summary from the administration.
Yes, thank you. So this property is located on the east side of Archibald Street. This is north of Elizabeth Road and is in the Maginot neighborhood of the St. Boniface Ward. The property is 9,449 square feet in area, currently contains a one-story single-family dwelling. Under Complete Communities Direction Strategy, this property is located in an established neighborhood recent communities policy area. Under the Winnipeg zoning bylaw, it is zoned R2, residential 2 family. This property is not located within the infill guidelines area of the city, and so these guidelines don't apply with respect to these applications. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing house on the property and construct a 2-story multifamily building. This multifamily building will have 6 units. 1 parking stall for each of the units is proposed for a total of 6 parking stalls, and access to these parking stalls will be taken from the rear lane at the back of the property. To accommodate this development proposal, the application has applied for a conditional use application to allow a multifamily use on an R2 lot. As well, they've applied for variances to allow a reduced front yard setback and fewer parking stalls than what the zoning bylaw requires. The Public Service approved the conditional use and variance applications subject to a number of conditions. These conditions include limiting the height of the building to a maximum of 30 feet. They are proposing a building that is just over 26 feet, so they're under that. Requiring a mix of cladding materials and active doorways along the front facade of the building. Requiring a rear yard setback of no less than 50 feet. This is to ensure rail safety, given that a rail line is located to the rear of the property. And also a condition requiring that if the design of the site changes, that plan approval by the Director of Planning, Property and Development would be required before permits could be issued. The decision to approve the conditional use and variance was appealed and is before this committee today. Thank you.
Any questions, counselors?
One question. So this is mid-block. This is not on a corner, right?
Yeah, that's right. This is in the middle of an established block. Yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on.
So first up, we do have the appellant who's registered joining us in person today, Gerald Wassard. Is Gerald here today?
Yeah.
You can come join us at the end of the table there.
We sit.
Yes, Monsieur Lassard, you sit down and the microphone picks you up. It doesn't affect the gallery at all. It's just for those online that can watch, or for you, if you want to watch later, show your neighbors. You have 10 minutes to speak to committee about your appeal.
Okay, well, good morning. I am the neighbor directly next door, and I've made significant investment in my property, and there's a few points that will come up. One of them mainly is the privacy, because of the height of the structure, and 4 windows on each side facing. We'll talk about that later. There are also certain projects that neighbors right now are putting on hold, fearing that this may be, invading their outlook and their future as far as what they want to invest in their properties. If I go back to, they mentioned that this was there were several multifamily dwellings in the area. There are 2 located just north of the church down Archibald Street. These 2 buildings were installed on empty lots. And there's also one at the corner of Elizabeth and Archibald. Also, this one was installed on an empty lot. So what these people want to do now is to tear down a perfectly good house to build a 6-plex. Now, in this city, we know that there are a shortage of housing for people, especially young couples wanting to start out with starter homes. This is one that's going to be completely lost. And we definitely don't want that kind of trend here. Let's see. Also, the parking and traffic. Now, we know that the 6 lots on that for parking will not be sufficient. And the traffic increase in our back lane since the new apartment has gone up on the end of the street, I have noticed with their one exit onto Archibald, which is only directed northbound, I've noticed a lot of traffic coming down our back lane, whipping around to go southbound or to go east. So our back lane has, the traffic volume has increased significantly. And with adding another 6 vehicles daily coming in and out, that will be a further headache. But potentially, there will be probably more than 1 vehicle per each suite there. A lot of families nowadays have 2 vehicles, and maybe even with a youngster having another car. Now, where are they going to park with this? There is no parking in the back lane. There's no parking on the front street of Archibald. There is, however, parking across from these 2 apartments by the church further down in the 700 block. Now, those residents have noticed an increase in actual parking from the 2 apartments in front of their house. So now you're having homeowners come home and they have no parking because visitors and tenants are using their streets. This will definitely add to that. Okay. I've also heard from a few people in that area, and it is definitely a problem. Okay. With the city now giving the go-ahead to this water tower district, which is further up on Archibald, they again there will be breaking ground for quite an abundant amount of multifamily housing. This does not destroy a single house. This is new multifamily development, which we support. We need more of this in our community, not destroying houses to put up, I call a behemoth. And I'm sure there will be others, but that's it for me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, counselors? I don't see any. Thank you very much. Oh, Counselor Allard, do you have a question?
Yes, just I noticed from the submission, a lot of this has to do with parking. Is that a fair question? Is that a fair statement?
Do you mind taking questions? You don't
Yeah.
have to, but
Yeah, just sit
you have to
down.
come back to the table because otherwise, we can't.
No one else can hear otherwise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not wasting.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
With respect to parking and your submission.
Yeah, good morning, Matt.
Hi,
Well, parking is definitely one of the issues. You know the area that we are in. The city does not allow parking in any back lane. So if they have 6 vehicles and they're all full, a visitor will show up and where is he gonna park? He's gonna,
right, so
he's gonna park at IGA down a block and a half or across into the streets across from the blocks across the church there.
the variance is for one parking stall. Normally, they wouldn't have to apply for variance if there were one more stall. Is that in line with?
Well, what we're saying is that we're gonna have a lot of traffic. There's gonna be, I mean, the parking for 6 units is very small.
Right, and I'm presuming I'm gonna hear from the proponent, and I mean, I know the street, it's a heavy transit route street. I know a lot of people in Windsor Park use the bus. And to your point, we want places for families. Looks like a lot of these are 3-bedroom units.
Yeah, they're 3-bedroom units, which like I say, and you go down Windsor Park, you know the area, there's how many families have 3 cars in the driveway, 4 cars?
Well, I know young families that have 1 car and they live in a 3-bedroom because they have one child. That's where they start.
Counselor Allard?
Yeah, so basically you're saying that people that will move in there will only have 1 car.
And
I'm saying I know of cases where young
Yeah.
family.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, and you have to look at my side too. There are gonna be units there that may have 2 or 3 cars, and they're gonna be parking in and around the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And the variance is for 1, right? Like normally there'd be 6, they're asking for 5 plus a visitor spot. Do you understand that?
Yeah,
Okay, well, I think your submission is clear. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both. We'll move on to the next person in appeal.
sure. Next, we have Kylan Lassard, also joining us in person.
Just have to connect my USB.
Yes, take your time. If you need help, let me know.
Yep.
Make sure we share the screen.
Right, good morning. My name is Kylan and I'm here to present my opposition to the sixplex on 890 Archibald Street. There are several issues that I'll be going over, which include privacy, parking, garbage and recycling, public safety, and the unnecessary destruction of the home. So privacy concerns. We have windows placed 20 feet above ground level, as you can see here. These windows are on both sides of the building. They're going to be positioned so that they're overlooking straight into our backyards on both sides. So we built our backyards for privacy. We have decks, patios, pools, hot tubs, fireplaces. We've all built this under the assumption that we would have privacy. Many of us have invested thousands of dollars into our backyards with all these nice places that we can enjoy with our family and not have people looking at us. So this is a lifetime's worth of planning that's potentially ruined. For a lot of us, this is our forever home, and we've invested so much time and money upgrading these places because our backyards are very nice and spacious. If we were okay with building our decks and patios where people could look at us, then we would build them on Archibald Street in our front yards. So none of us are doing that. And these windows are just active surveillance of our backyards. There's absolutely nowhere else for these to look outside these bedroom windows except for our backyards. There's no reason to have this. Now, parking concerns. So there's 6 units. There's 3 bedrooms each, but only 6 parking spaces. These 6 parking spaces effectively become 4 when you're not counting the visitor parking space and the handicap parking space that might not be used. This just doesn't add up. These aren't bachelor suites. There's going to be 6 families moving in here, and they're only going to have 4 parking spaces between them. So where are the extra cars going to park? Well, the closest parking spaces are on Elizabeth Road and Guibo Street. Now, these are 300 and 400 meters away at minimum, and they're often full because Elizabeth Road also has, multifamily housing. Guibo Street and the block ahead are also dealing with the apartments there that people are, using their parking. Are these families really going to be taking a 6 to 9 minute walk every day to get to their car? How about in the winter when it's, minus 30 out? So what this is going to do is creating an illegal parking problem. There's no way around it. This is going to be leading to people parking in our back lane. So when we have a tight space from cars parking in our back lane, it's going to lead to accidents. It's going to be blocking access for driveways for people that have long trailers and RVs. It's going to potentially block off room for emergency vehicles. And it's going to impact our city services. Things like garbage and recycling, street cleaning, sanding, snow pickup, snow removal. Now there are garbage and recycling oversights. It's unclear what kind of garbage and recycling pickup method that they're going to be using, whether it's the dumpsters or the residential garbage carts. Whatever it might be, there's going to be some really unresolvable issues here. So the garbage and recycling dumpsters are going to be inaccessible. So here's the proposed location for the enclosure here. And now we have a parking lot that spans the width of the property here. So no matter where it's placed on this backyard here, the collection would be blocked by parked cars. But now, if you have the residential garbage and recycling carts, they're going to be lined up behind the parked cars. Now, the Water and Waste Department requires our carts to be placed 1 meter apart. And since we'll have 12 of these bins, we're going to have 12 meters of space for the garbage carts at minimum to be lined up. So that 12 meters takes up 5 parking spaces at minimum. So this is going to just be a nightmare for everyone involved. This musical chairs act of moving garbage and recycling carts all over every time someone wants to get in and out is only going to last a week before they decide to, squish them all together and then cause problems for the recycling and garbage trucks to pick up. Or they're going to be moved onto our neighboring properties and block our driveways instead. Now, traffic safety concerns. Since the apartments at 912 Archibald Street have gone up, we've noticed an increase in traffic in the area. Not only that, but we've also been dealing with the illegal parking as well, which might sound a bit familiar. So there's been not enough parking, and it's created an illegal parking problem in our back lane already. By the way, it's worth mentioning that 912 Archibald Street also had a variance that proved that reduced the required parking from 45 to 42 spaces. And since day one, we've been dealing with illegal parking. So there's always never been enough room for parking here. Now, when we have illegal parking, that only means we're going to have one lane available. Our back lane is a popular route for Archwood school students. They go to school and back every day using this back lane. And now we're going to have children and vehicle traffic that are going to be forced together onto this one lane in our back lane. This is going to be a disaster waiting to happen. Now we have the unnecessary destruction. So this house is in good condition. It's always been well maintained by the previous owners. And other multifamily developments in the area have always made use of empty lots. Nothing was destroyed to put up all these apartments here. 912 Archibald, the 750 and 740 Archibald up north. These were all made on empty lots and nothing was destroyed here. And doing this would set a really dangerous precedent for developers here. You've all seen what happened to St. Patel and Glenwood with all those houses that are turned into sixplexes. That's a permanent and irreversible change to the neighborhood, and you're never getting that back. We don't want that to happen here. This is a mature neighborhood with houses that have been here since the 50s, and it should be preserved like this whenever it's possible. Now, the elephant in the room here is the giant willow tree on the property. It's home for many noteworthy bird species, removes tons of carbon dioxide per year, and it's part of the urban forest of Winnipeg. So the city of Winnipeg is committed to keeping a significant tree canopy that contributes to our urban forest, which is why developers need to submit proper paperwork whenever a variance application is submitted. However, I didn't see any kind of arborist or tree preservation report that was filed in the administrative report. So I'm not sure why this tree that would have to be cut down completely doesn't have anything going for it in the paperwork. Now, this next section is just on the administrative report that was filed and why I disagree with some of its findings. This quote here, the proposed density is compatible with the surrounding context, where this section is multifamily and built forms, only slight increase in height. So this increase to single family to 6 families is pretty significant. And 912 Archibald Street, the apartments, it's not representative of our block. This is on a corner lot and it was previously zoned as commercial. So this is a special case and not the norm for our neighborhood. So it has a height and scale similar to surrounding buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So the height and scale is not similar to surrounding houses. This is going to be a 2-story building that's 81 feet long. This is in no way or shape or form similar to the houses that are going to be beside it. And this is going to be in the middle of our block too. So it's just going to be looking like an eyesore. Like it's going to break up the silhouette of our block completely. Now, this next one, the Urban Planning and Design Division is supportive of the variance to permit 6 parking spaces instead of 9 because it's on the future direct service route following a Winnipeg transit plan, et cetera, et cetera. So the permittance of 3 fewer parking stalls is unacceptable. We don't just shrug our shoulders and say, hey, all these people are going to have to, find other alternate parking spaces. That's not how this thing works. And the proposed route for the Winnipeg Transit Plan is going to be,
Do you need a few more minutes?
yeah, just a couple more minutes. I'm almost done.
I see consensus. Go ahead.
So the proposed route is functionally identical to our current bus route. We're still going to have 30-minute wait times. It's not going to be increasing the frequency to our buses or stops. And our current service already feeds into the primary lines. Now, as you can see here, here's the proposed plan for the new transit. 890 Archibald is here. The blue line here is the direct route. And this feeds into the green, orange, pink, and purple. Those are the frequent and the express lines. So our bus already does this. We already connect to the downtown core. So what this is doing isn't going to be attracting people to our neighborhood because this is already happening. So our area is going to be remaining unattractive to the bus riders. There's no plan to upgrade our service into a frequent or express line, and a vehicle is still going to be necessary to reasonably access services like clinics, daycares, and shopping centers. This new transit plan isn't like a silver bullet. It's not going to turn our area into a transit hotspot. That's going to be, people are going to be looking for when there's much better options for them towards the core. So the reason I'm telling you all this, it's likely that all 6 families are going to drive at least one vehicle, which means illegal parking will be a certainty. There's no getting around it. We're going to have parked cars in our back lane. In our conclusion, we're going to be losing privacy from this. It's going to be creating an illegal parking problem. We're going to have some kind of nonsensical garbage and recycling collection. It's going to be a headache. Now we're having higher traffic flow with the illegal parking. That's going to be a danger to the kids using this back lane every day. And it's going to be destroying a perfectly fine living space. So if there's no space for parking, no space to protect our privacy, no space for garbage and recycling, no space for keeping this significant tree around, there's no space for a sixplex. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions at this time, councilors?
Well, what the issue with chairperson, if I may ask through you to the delegation?
Yes, Councilor Lord, go ahead. Councilor Lard, did you freeze?
Yes, sorry, I must have been muted. Can you hear me? My question
Yes,
is,
go ahead, ask your question.
I presume the proponent will have an answer, and I presume the public service will as well, but what is the issue that you see with the garbage?
Yeah, the issue is that the garbage, if it is a dumpster, if they're using dumpsters, then there's not going to be any space for the collection trucks to get into the parking lot, because there's that parking lot is going to be blocking the a collection truck if they're using dumpsters, and if they're using the residential garbage and recycling carts, then that's going to be lined up behind the parked cars.
Okay, well, I'll be asking questions in that regard. Are you aware that many of these issues may be resolved at plan approval, and that in the event where the committee were to choose to go forward, that they could ask the plan approval to go to Riel Committee, where you could come and request further changes?
No, I wasn't aware of that, but if it's an option, then I'll be pursuing it.
Okay, are you aware that in the past I have done all sorts of reconfigurations to site plans in consultation with residents and the proponents? I'm sorry for the presentation, but we're supposed to ask questions. It's a question statement.
Anything further? There's no response, Councilor Lard.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. We'll move on to the next person in support of appeal, if there is.
Yes, we have another person registered in support of the appeal, Betty Dominowski. Okay,
That's perfect then. Anyone else?
so is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of the appeal, which means you're not in support of the project going forward? Okay, oh, sure, yeah, I'll come grab it from you. Yeah, I can come have a seat. That's okay, the number.
Mine or his or place being torn down?
The actual address of the,
I just have to change.
okay, that's fine, thank you. Up to 10 minutes.
My name's Kelvin Nipchuk, and I live at 904 Archibald, which is 3 doors down from the apartment complex that got built on the corner. 912, I believe it is. When that got put up, we had the exact same concerns, especially about privacy and parking, garbage, but I'll talk about the privacy. When the building went up, there was windows that face directly onto my yard and my neighbors. So sometimes I'll go out in my yard and I look over and there's someone in the window and they're looking. Well, when you go to the window, no matter what it is, it's very odd that you look up and just look at the sky. You're gonna look down. You're gonna look, oh, there's someone's yard. What's in their yard? Nice patio set, barbecue. You're gonna look around, right? Now, who's to say that friends don't come over and do the same thing? Friends that you don't know if they're good or bad, maybe they are, but who knows? Like it's just, I don't like coming out of my place and seeing people looking into my yard. That was one thing, okay? The next was the traffic, as they mentioned with the cars. There are constantly cars being parked in the back lane. Close, they encroach sometimes to my neighbor's place, which is right next to me. So that's already 2 houses further from the apartment complex. And those 2 neighbors consistently have to phone the city to get these cars possibly towed because they're parking illegally. The garbage, sometimes I'll come out and that huge garbage container, whether the wind grabs it or somebody's just pushing it around to be an idiot, it sits almost directly in the back lane. And who am I supposed to call? The apartment complex? Say your garbage is in the way? Imagine if there were 10 or 12 little, garbage containers and recycling containers. I know when they come down the back lane to pick it up, there's no 2-man crews anymore. It's just the one guy in the machine. So he lifts it up, he slams it on the ground, and he moves on. There's nobody there to push it gently up against your fence to create room now. That thing is just left in the middle of the back lane for you to come home at whatever point and move your stuff in. So imagine if there's 12 of them. And this is being done. They're going to be slamming it down. There's going to be stuff at the end of that back lane. Just amazing problem is what I see. And the last thing I could say is that with the apartment that went up on the side at the corner 912, there has been a tremendous amount of traffic, like foot traffic. And there's also been a tremendous amount of, maybe not property damage, but people inspecting your properties. Whether or not that's associated with it, I don't know, but I have noticed there is just a huge amount of traffic going up and down that back lane and a huge amount of, possibly problems happening to your property, including mine where I've had my garage broken into recently. I never had that until the apartment block went up. I'm not saying that's why, but it's adding to a problem and it's creating a bigger problem. This isn't going to help putting a place right in the middle of the block. If you're on the corner, well, maybe that would be different, but this is right in the middle of the block. I don't, like they say, I just don't feel you need to tear down a house. That's perfectly good for a family to create problems for every other family. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, just a question on the one guy in the machine. It's not 2. Through you to the presenter.
I quite often see 1. I sometimes do see 2, but
Okay.
time I see one, the machine slams it down onto the ground so hard that the wheels on mine are broken. So I'm not, if you want to follow it, you can watch it. There's quite often just the one guy in the machine. Nobody puts those recycling bins or the garbage bins back towards the person's property. They're left right in the middle of the back lane sometimes, and they just drive off.
Okay. And just, Madam Chair, through you to the speaker, isn't it true that if this development does occur, that we would be trading one home for one family for another structure with 6 families?
You're asking me?
He is, and Councilor Lard, you want, I think you're making a point by asking a question, so, he's asking you.
Madam Chair.
Asking me what?
He's asking.
Is it not true that you made, I think I heard that we're taking a home away from families, but are we not creating a net new 5 homes for 5 new families?
I understand that, but I'm saying you're creating something possibly for 5 families that will dramatically impact every other family that is established already on that block.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for your time today. We'll move on to the next person in support of the appeal.
Yes, is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of the appeal for 890 Archibald? Okay, we can move then on to those in opposition to the appeal, and we have the applicant John Winthrop joining us in person today. It's on a different side. No? No?
That's good. There you go.
Oh, here we go.
Just like you.
Okay. The slideshow.
Yeah.
But
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Partly.
Mr. Winthrop, welcome back. You have 10 minutes with committee.
Thank you. My name is John Winthrop. I'm a professional planner here representing the landowner on this project at 890 Archibald Street. I am the applicant for conditional uses and variances that are required to be approved for 6 dwelling units with 6 parking stalls before permits will be issued. It went through, we submitted the application back in January. The director approved it. Other people appealed it. So I'm not the appellant today, and we're here at the appeal hearing. As other people have already indicated, 890 Archibald is in the Maginot neighborhood in St. Boniface. It's 11 doors north of Elizabeth Road, about 1 kilometer south of Marion Street. It's an intensification target area. It's in the combined sewer district, the Mission Sewer District. Within 15-minute walk of this area, there's the Tim Hortons up at Marion Street, Archwood School, Archwood Community Center, the IGA, Windsor IGA, the L'Oreal Center for Arts and Technology. That's all within 15-minute walking of 890 Archibald, as well as some other amenities such as the 7-Eleven. Currently, there are a number of transit routes that go down Archibald and Elizabeth, the 19 and the 57. That's Transit 2024. 2025, it will be the D15. We are 140 meters away from the bus stop for the D15. We're 1,000 meters from the D14, which will go up and down Marion Street, as well as Route 55 is over on Elizabeth by the Windsor IGA, which is again a few minute walk away from us. So we have frequent transit right out our front door. Multiple cycling routes. There's a multi-use pathway along Archibald, along the west side next to the golf course there.
Along Archibald, there is no front driveways. Concrete sidewalk is along the east side, multi-use pathway on the west side. There's no on-street parking. It's a P1, 66 feet wide, winter route and a truck route. The back lane is also known as Rue Maginot. It's concrete, detached garages. There are gravel driveways. It's 20 feet wide. It connects to Elizabeth Road to the south and to a gravel portion of Rue Maginot in the north that connects to Archibald. It's only loaded on one side of the lane. The west side of the lane is used. The east side, as you can see, there is not used by anybody else. We are 70 feet from the track. The CPR Emerson rail track is directly to the east of us. It is 50 feet in from the property line. It is 70 feet from the rear of our property line. Our property is zoned R2 directly to the north, south, and east. It's also zoned R2. The rail tracks are zoned R2. Just past the rail tracks and Windsor Park there is zoned RFM small. To the west of us is PR2 with the golf course. Across the rail tracks, there are a number of multiple family dwellings that front Berkshire Bay. So again, right out our back door, this is a picture of it. There are a set of rail tracks approximately 50 feet in from the property line away from the back lane. So it's only one loaded sided back lane, not dual loaded that you would typically see in other neighborhoods. To the west of us is the golf course. To the east of us, to the south of us, facing east is this is 896 Archibald, a semi-detached dwelling. To the north of us is also a single detached dwelling fronting under Archibald. We are zoned R2. We're at 9,449 square feet. Interior lot. We are shaped like a parallelogram. Our front yard alignment came in at 35 feet. We have one tree in the front yard, one tree in the rear yard. The trees are going to be removed. That's why there's no arbitrage report. We're going to remove all structures on the property, construct 6 dwelling units, 2 stories, 27.4 feet in height. That's 2 stories, 27.4 feet. We're allowed, of course, up to 35 feet in this zoning district. We're well below that. We're going to have 2 doors on the front facade, 2 doors on the rear facade. These are typically 2-bedroom units at 1,134 square feet. So they are vertical units. The 3 floors, a basement, main floor, and an upstairs. There are going to be 3 units along the north side, 3 units along the south side. Again, we're 2 stories, 27.4 feet in height, 6 dwelling units. Each dwelling unit will have a separate entrance. 3 units on the north side, 3 units on the south side. Our front yard will be 35 feet to the building. That's 35 feet to the building. 53-foot rear yard. We're going to have 4-foot side yards against the existing houses. To our neighbors, we are going to put up a 6-foot tall wood fence along the property lines, 6 parking stalls at the back. We need a couple of variances. A front yard of 31 feet instead of 35 feet. That 31 feet is to a covered deck, which is essentially our front staircase to the 2 doors along the front, but the building is set back 35 feet. And 6 parking stalls instead of 9, and then we need a variance for insufficient landscaping along the rear lot line. That is required because if we want to have parking off the back lane, we need to access that back lane. We can't put up landscaping along the back lane. That is a typical variance you see quite often for infill housing. Some questions. How far are we from the CPR Emerson track? We are 123 to 140 feet from the rail tracks to habitable room. From property line to the track, it's 70 feet. Our rear yard is 53 feet to 70 feet. So that's where we get 123 to 140 feet from that CPR Emerson line. What will screen the adjacent properties from the subject lands? A wood barrier fence, 6 feet in height with a 4-foot side yard. What will face the adjacent properties from the subject lands? Those are 4-bedroom windows. Again, 4-bedroom windows. They are minimum in size. We do want to be able to provide light into these dwelling units. That's a planning thought that goes back to the 1890s. is we want to make sure that we have light going into dwelling units. But we do put up a 6-foot tall fence to screen for privacy. For the, we are going to propose to landscape the new front yard with at least 3 trees in the front yard, 12 new shrubs. We're seeking approval for 6 dwelling units with 6 parking stalls. We need a conditional use for the multi-use project and the variances that are already pointed out to you, the 31 feet to the staircase, the insufficient landscaping at the rear of the property, which is along the property line with the back lane to allow vehicles to enter the property. Those are the kind of the main variances we're looking for today. There was a questionable garbage. We'll use, as any other building in Winnipeg, typically you see if you go through Wolseley, River Heights, rolling carts are put out into the back lane and picked up. It's a common occurrence you see across Winnipeg and infill neighborhoods, mature neighborhoods. We would be doing the same thing here. Seems to work in a lot of other locations. If there's any questions, I'm certainly willing to take them right now.
Questions, councillors? Councillor, go ahead, and then Councillor Lark, Councillor Dobson will start us
I
out.
have one question, so if I'm one of the tenants there and I have a pickup truck, 8-foot bed, it's roughly gonna be about 19 feet or so. And my parking, depending upon where it's gonna be, the bin behind my truck, it's gonna be really tight to the back lane. So do we know the minimums required for depth for the bins so that the automatic machines can pick up the bin without hitting my truck?
Yes, well, first off, the parking stalls typically in Winnipeg are 20 feet long, but when they come off the back lane, they're 23 feet. So that already is giving you the additional 3 feet. So in Winnipeg, if you go to a commercial parking lot or anywhere else, a parking stall is 8 feet by 20 feet. When it comes off a back lane and we do not need a variance, you can see the depth of the rear yard. We can make the parking stalls 23 feet. We can make them 25 feet to accommodate the bins, etc. Because we do have a deep backyard of 70 to 53 feet. Again, it's a parallelogram. And so that's why there's the inconsistent backyard, 70 feet along the south and 53 feet to the north. We can shorten the rear green space and increase the length of the parking stalls if needed be. But with the additional 3 feet, typically at the back of the stall, we can accommodate the rollout bins.
Actually, I kind of disagree with that through the chair. I don't think you could put a bin right behind the truck and have an automatic machine pick it up because he will not want to hit your truck when he drops it off. So it'll probably be dropped off partially into the back lane unless you made the spots bigger. And even with 23 feet and I got a 19-foot truck, I'm not going to park right up to the fence or hit it. So really, when you have say 3 or 4 feet to play with, you really don't because you won't pull all the way up every time.
Yeah, I love pickup trucks. My dad drove a pickup truck for years. My dad drove heavy equipment in Winnipeg for years. I drive a Volkswagen Golf. I live in Osborne Village. If you're likely driving a crew cab and with 5 kids, I would say that type of vehicle. I don't see it very often in Wolseley. I don't see it very often in mature neighborhoods. I don't see it too many units that I do for infill housing. You're likely somebody living out in the suburbs, out in the country with a pickup truck. You're owning a crew cab. These are a 6-plex. They're a generous sized unit, but you're not likely buying a $60,000 or $80,000 pickup truck and living at this type of dwelling unit. But if need be, we would lengthen our parking stalls to accommodate that. If that's a technical concern, we have sufficient rear yard to accommodate that.
And I'll check with the public service on that.
Councillor Dobson, any further questions by you, Councillor Dobson?
No.
Councillor Allard, over to you.
Yes, thank you. So I did hear concern about loss of trees. I do recall a recent hearing where we were able to impose conditions regarding trees. Mr. Winthrop, you had, I guess, detailed feedback on how to give such conditions additional weight with I guess defining the height of trees for deciduous or the height of trees.
Yeah, it's for coniferous trees, it's height 6 feet at time of planting, and deciduous trees 3-inch caliper. Which is bigger, typically it's 2.5 inch, but I like to go with a 3-inch caliper because it's a little bit more substantial when I'm making that type of recommendation. On this type of property, as you can see by the site plan, we do have space in the rear yard. We're only showing landscaping in the front yard. Or certainly we'd be happy to add landscaping to the backyard in terms of adding trees and increasing the amount of foliage on the property. And that would be, I'd be happy to work with the residents, the community, the et cetera, and have a plan approval of the community committee for the landscaping plan to come forward. At this time, I would just say, I always tell councillors, go with a typical deciduous tree or coniferous tree. And then if you want a more detailed tree, Shirley Tim Rudolph love, blue spruce. If you have a particular type of tree, do that at the plan approval stage, not at so much the variance of the conditional use stage.
Madam Chair, through you to the applicant, do you know of trees that are I think it's endogenous to the area that come from here?
Yeah, there's a select groups of tree. White spruce is the provincial tree. I like white spruce as the provincial tree. If you're looking at a coniferous tree, for a deciduous tree, oaks.
So
for a particular tree for St. Boniface, I'd have to do a little bit more research.
for a mandate of white spruce and a mandate of oaks, like in the realm of possibility, reasonable?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
I heard plan approval, community committee, you would welcome that
Yes,
if this. Okay. What about, so the parking concerns came up. I think you've addressed them in part with transit 140 feet away from the frequent transit network, but anything else to say on parking? So you're asking for three new spots, I think?
we're looking for 1-to-1 parking ratio, which we feel is sufficient for this site, and that's sufficient looking at other contexts of the area. I think what people have to realize is the definition of family has changed quite a lot over the last few years, and what they might view as a family. I like to think of the TV show Modern Family, where you look at it and what different families today look like in Winnipeg. If you are a family like what I grew up with a brother and a sister and two parents, you're not likely living in this unit. You're looking at a different type of housing type. And my family had 2-3 cars when we were teenagers. This is more of a family where you're affording at most one car. Cars are very expensive today. Housing is very expensive. You're a 1-car family. If you're a 2-car family, you are likely moving to somewhere else in a different part or a different type of housing form that can provide that. If you are a 2-car family, you simply cannot be accommodated here. And that's not the market we're going for here. We're looking for families that have 1 car and somebody buses or bikes to go to school or go to work. That's the living situation for these units.
Okay, Madam Chair, through you to the applicant, like St. Boniface residents have been calling for housing for families. From my experience, that characterization of the typical client, like a young family with 1 child, maybe 2, and then I understand that turnover is higher usually with these types of suites, where people are saving money to buy their own house. Madam Chair, through you to the applicant, is that consistent with their experience?
Yeah, I would say this would be a starter place for a young family with a child or 2 children. With the price of housing, the lack of supply, it's very difficult for young families to move into a starter home with a rear and a front yard and out in the suburbs. That's unfortunately not a reality right now. Hopefully over several years, it'll become more of a reality again, but that's not. And I'll use my example. I live in Osborne Village in a building that has a lot of retired people, and it has a mixture of young professionals, no kids, young professionals with young kids, and everybody only has 1 parking stall. They tend to move out, then they own the unit and they tend to rent the unit as a rental unit, where they turn around and sell it to somebody else. who is a young family or young person or older person, etc., who only wants one car, needs only one car for their daily living.
And Madam Chair, maybe one last question. I speak to landowners that are looking to develop their land, and I often make the request for 3-bedroom units. They tell me that they're losing money every time I make that request. Is that the case in this case, or is it just the land that is, I don't know, has a propensity to this type of development where there are 3-bedroom units, or is the landowner, I guess, foregoing profit in order to provide these 3-bedroom units if this moves forward?
No, we could certainly look at accommodating 3 bedrooms. We have basements. And so I presented at the appeal hearing, I think earlier this year, a different appeal hearing where on infill housing on 25-foot wide lots. I can't speak for all developers, but the developers I do for infill lots, they prefer to have at least 2 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms works because there's this large market right now of people who simply can't afford a house and need something, and they need housing. And right now, with the interest rates and the price of housing and the price of land, they cannot buy a house in the suburbs and raise their family. And again, the definition of family, it includes a grandparent or grandparents. It might be a young baby, plus the 2 parents. So for 2 or 3 bedrooms, that's a bit of a market for a lot of my clients that I deal with. They prefer to have that. There's a market out there, of course, for 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units for people out there who are either older or students or young professionals or people working to help share the rent. That is our market out there as well, but we're certainly not objecting to having 3 bedrooms. If need be, we'd look at accommodating it, I believe, on the floor plate into the basement. There's space. These are generous sized units to allow that. You need at least 800 square feet to have like a 2-bedroom unit really to work, and we've got more than that.
Okay, so Madam Chair, through you to the applicant, what is being proposed right now in terms of bedrooms? My apologies if it's already been stated, be sure. And what would be possible in terms of number of suites and number of bedrooms? Could all suites accommodate 3 bedrooms, or could only some suites accommodate 3 bedrooms? And another question that came up in a previous hearing, would it be amenable, practical, feasible to do accessibility on the first floor?
I like the accessibility. That's something that we can do. In terms of 3-bedroom, I'd have to go back to the designer to make sure I can meet the building code, because I'm always concerned about that. Is the number, but of course, if we can fit it just for pure marketing point of view, but 3-bedroom is better for the market right now. By the time we get under construction, we'll look to see what the market's there. If we get through this process and get a building permit going this fall, then we know when the building would be opening. So I don't necessarily want to commit to 3 bedrooms at this time, but I can absolutely commit to accessibility, to allow accessibility suites. That's an easier thing to fix. We can put a ramp along the into the side yards to get to the. So you need a ramp. It wouldn't necessarily be so we have doors on the front and doors on the back, and then we have doors on the side for the a couple of units. We can put in a gradient ramp of where the sidewalk would go up to that door, so it could be more accessible into that. Not 35 feet in the front yard. I'm not 100% sure I could put a ramp going up to the front door, but I think I can do at least 2 accessible along the for the door accesses along the north side and the south side. But I think I can do at least 2 accessible suites to get into.
Okay.
I'll call it vistable housing, where you don't have to go over a curb or a step to get into the doorway of a house. More vistable housing. Then inside the dwelling unit, I can make it accessible in terms of the bathroom. But it's a vertical unit with basement, main floor, upstairs, so I can get it vistable housing into the unit for sure. For at least 2 of the units.
Madam Chair, first off, thank you to the committee for allowing this time for discussion with the landowner. I've heard many concerns from residents. I'm trying to look at every single one of them. So Madam Chair, through you to the proponent, in lieu of parking, I I like imposing conditions, as you may know, right into the orders. In terms of bike parking, what is your plan, and would that be a possibility to further alleviate parking concerns for the neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of space in the rear yard where we can put either outdoor bicycle parking, certainly, and then we can also accommodate bikes in the basement of the units. So we have space to accommodate like indoor and outdoor bike parking. So I believe we don't need a variance for bicycle parking, but we would certainly add more bicycle parking if that's the will of the committee here.
I'm looking for something specific like outdoor bicycle parking. That could be one to meet the requirement, and downstairs parking, that could be one to meet the requirement. What do you think, would it be a viable imposition on this order if the committee decides to move forward on it in order to alleviate parking concerns for the neighborhood?
Yes, I'd say 6 outdoor bicycle parking stalls in the back, and then 1 indoor bicycle parking per unit.
Downstairs?
Yeah, they can be accommodated in the basement.
Okay, and those would be protected, locked.
Well, yeah,
I'm looking.
Inside your unit, it would be like a bike lockup outside in the rear yard.
Mm-hmm. And then inside?
Inside, we would show it like inside your unit because you own your unit or exclusive access to your own basement. So it would you would take your bike into the basement.
Okay, but that's something that we can be imposed in the variance?
Yes.
Okay, so so 2 trees are coming down, and how many are coming up?
3 in the front yard and whatever number you want in the backyard.
And they can all be, in your opinion, whether deciduous or non-deciduous, the scope size of tree that you talked about, which I believe is probably over the minimum recommended guidelines from the city. 6 feet deciduous. Sorry, 6 feet coniferous, 3 feet deciduous.
3-inch caliper deciduous. So 3-inch caliper measures the radius of the trunk.
However many you want in the backyard, I might say 100, and that's probably too many. Like off the what would be a max that you're sure accommodated?
3, because I want to make sure I can fit in the 6 bicycle stalls, and then 3. And if you're, let's see, it would be on the east side, or I could do a mixture of like 2. I like the idea of the coniferous trees in the front because it's more of it blocks. So if you understand, that's the cone shaped tree. So at the lower ground, it's more of a buffering tree, especially with traffic along Archibald. So coniferous trees in the front, maybe 2 coniferous trees in the front, 1 deciduous tree in the front. And then the back, I would go with more deciduous trees because it's more, looks like a lollipop. It screens more of the top of the building. And
okay, so front yard would be coniferous trees 3, right? And backyard could be whatever.
3.
But 3 trees. 3 deciduous backyard?
Yeah.
Okay, bike parking. Okay, on the 3 bedroom, because that's a big issue in St. Boniface. We heard about the need for housing for families from the delegations. I want to be able to, deliver on that with the will of the committee is amenable. You said you need to talk to the designer about 3 bedrooms. I'd rather resolve this in plan.
Yeah.
What's the minimum number you think can be accommodated? Sorry, what for sure number could be accommodated?
Well, for sure, I know 2.
In a position of 2.
We'll go for 3. I'm not an expert in building code.
So 3, because if this were to go forward, this would be the type of thing I would ask the committee to support in terms of condition. 2, 3.
So we're not into motions right now, Councillor Allard, I'll remind you, and I think you know that, and you're just exploring. I'm just gonna.
That I might be able to support.
Sorry, I appreciate it. Continue on. And I missed what you said there because every time I talk, your mic closes for some reason or you're muted slightly. So say again what you said.
My apologies. I am trying to get the maximum number of three bedroom, basically family units, and I'm hearing there's some uncertainty. I'm asking through you to the proponent, what would be the maximum imposition this committee could put on this project without breaking it? For 3 bedrooms.
The proponent already respond to you, and I'll let him respond one more time. But I heard the proponent say he would have to take that away. So when, and in part of what he described here, and part of your asks, like for instance ramps at the side yard, I contemplated asking the public service whether or not that would necessitate side yard variances, which this proposal is walking in not needing at this time. So I'll let him answer one more time, but I did absolutely hear an answer to that. He said he'd need to take it away because he's bumping up against, code, which he's also contemplated, which was like around the second time you asked the same question. Mr. Wintrip, what say you with respect to 3 bedrooms again?
Yeah, I'll answer that. That's an interior building code item that I'm certainly not an expert on. The ramp part, I've done that before at other locations, so that's why I know the length of the ramp. There's a gradient, a mathematical equation. I don't think it would fit in the front yard. I think there's sufficient from the front property line to where the door is located that I can put in a ramp that with a proper gradient, just because I've done that on a few other projects. But when it comes inside a building, I know I can accommodate a bike inside a building, but another habitable room, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just not a building code expert.
And I've also heard you say opposite these revisions that Council Lard is proposing or considering with you, that, you're both going to explore code, but you're also going to, take it away and see following an assumed yes from the committee today, and then look at that.
Yes, if it's a possibility, there's a market for it, and it can be fitted on the building code. I know developers would certainly have 2 or 3 bedrooms. But
Thank you. Councillor Lard, do you have a follow-up at this juncture?
Well, I think at this juncture, no, but I just want to be clear that this is at the will of the committee, and no decisions have been taken at this time, and we're going to have a debate as always. So no further questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Wintrip.
Thank you. Anything
I don't
else?
see further questions. No.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, we called up the appellant, or are there more?
I'll just double check. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to the appeal for Archibald? Opposition? Okay, and anyone for information to the appeal? No? Okay, so at this time, questions of the public service.
Questions to the public service. Councillor Dobson.
Yes, my main question would be the garbage bins, recycle bins. How much space is typically required for the bin, for the machine to take it up, so that the bins aren't actually located in the back lane?
Well, the zoning bylaw requires if a parking space is off the back lane, directly off the back lane, then the length of that parking space has to be 23 feet. The proponent of this project noted, in a typical shopping center, the length is about 20 feet, but when it's off the lane, it's 23 feet. This does allow for extra space.
I understand a typical parking space, but a typical parking space doesn't have a recycling and garbage bin directly behind their car because it's the only place they can put it.
Right.
That was my concern. So if I don't park right up to the fence, if I'm a little bit tight, 23 feet or 23 and a half feet may be a little bit short. So that may be a concern. And if you have 6 cars parked side by side, how do I get the recycling garbage bin from its current location listed on the map to behind my vehicle without scraping against the 2 vehicles I'm going in between?
Right. Yeah, that's something with this file. I had reached out to the my colleague who prepared this report to see if that was something that came up in their review and preparing this report. I in my own experience, I haven't dealt with a lot of files where this is a design condition where there is no rolling aisle or space at the back. So I don't know how that works. It doesn't require a variance. So it's, it is permitted. I guess it would be a matter of just juggling things around, before you head out.
I certainly would not want to be one of those cars that's everybody takes a bin right by. Because I could see that being an issue. If the two cars are too close together and it's a little bit tight and someone's not careful, they'll scrape my car. Just putting it out there.
A single family dwelling could put a maximum of 6 parking spots at the back too. And the same issue would arise. Fewer bins, but like people can fill up the back of their lot with all kinds of vehicles, and this becomes an issue. But
Okay, that was one question. What about the insufficient buffering?
yeah, the zoning bylaw requires that for multifamily development, new multifamily development, if it's adjacent to another residential property, like across the lane or to the side of it or something, that there be buffering of the parking area. But however, in this case and in many infill cases, infill type development where sites are a little, relatively narrow, we will allow parking directly off the lane, similar to what a single family or a two family property does. So it's a kind of a tricky little aspect of the zoning bylaws. It does require that, the zoning bylaw has in mind a multifamily that's quite large and you put a buffer around it kind of thing. But in this case, it's a 6-unit building where they're going to park directly off the lane. And so it would be impossible to buffer that from the lane because otherwise you're driving over the buffer. So that's the reason why that variance is there. So it's one that comes up quite frequently in infill contexts.
Yes, and then I have heard for the buffering that quite often the next door neighbor has a garage which hides the view of the cars, and that would satisfy the buffering. But okay, I'm gonna stop that questioning right there. We're good. Okay.
Okay, any further questions or comments to the public service?
Madam Chair, you can hear me?
Yes. Councilor Lard.
Yeah, so Chair, I'd like to run a number of scenarios by the public service for their feedback regarding whether or not it's related to a variance and or if it can be dealt with in plan approval. If this committee does decide to move forward and if this committee does decide to attach conditions to the variance. So my first question, in terms of imposing number of trees, I think I know the answer. I've been able to do it many times before, so I won't ask that. In terms of
I saw the public service taking notes as you were talking. Can we just turn it over to him and he will run through, and if he forgets anything, you can intervene? Because you're chopping up a bit.
Let's hear what the public service has to say about the various conditions that were.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things I think in the discussion that you were involved with, Councillor. One is the trees, and including a minimum number of trees that are located in the front yard, coniferous trees, a minimum of 3. Second item was that a minimum of 12 bicycle parking spaces in total be provided, including 6 secure indoor bike parking spaces. So these would be, as the proponent mentioned, in the basement or something like that.
Okay, I also had accessibility to 2 suites with ramps.
Yeah, I don't know what building code implications may kick in the design of that. That could be, and I don't believe that that is something we could include as a condition on its own. You know, similar to the trees or the bike parking, but it could be something that is examined at a plan approval stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have, and then in order to perhaps accommodate, perhaps not, but acknowledge Councillor Dobson's concern in terms of the increased length of parking. I mean, I hate to think of giving up trees and green space for parking, but if it's something that is satisfactory to Councillor Dobson, what's the number that the proponent said they could bring the parking up to, which would make them very large parking spots relative to the rest of the city?
Yeah, I don't recall a specific number, but I did note that as you know, that came up in discussion with this committee, and so I kind of am prepared. You know, we could include a condition that the length of any parking stall off the lane have a length of no less than, and I don't have a number. That would be up to the. I mean, it's
Well,
they're showing 23 feet. That's the zoning bylaw requirement. It could be increased to 24, 25, whatever.
because we can't call that okay. I think we did have some, okay, and then the 3-bedroom, that's back to code, but is that something that can be dealt with at plan approval?
I'm not totally sure about that. I mean, it's the questions of you know, the type of housing, the number of bedrooms they may have, or other kind of you know, things of that nature are I don't believe that those could be included as conditions, just because they're not related to the criteria for variances and conditional use. So in terms of compatibility, injurious effect on adjoining properties, or consistency with Plan Winnipeg or Winnipeg.
So we only look at units, we don't talk about bedrooms in these applications?
No, that's correct. Yeah, it's
Okay. In terms of privacy, that's something else that presumably could be addressed at plan approval. I do recall flipping a building around one time because residents were concerned about privacy. Is that a plan approval question or is that a variance question?
I mean, it could be, it could be included as a condition. I don't know what movement of windows or removal of windows would be, you know, is what may be asked for, but that is something we can include.
We don't want to remove windows because it destroys bedrooms. So, okay.
Yeah.
I think those are my questions. Mostly parking and privacy is what I heard from the residents, and then enforcement of parking. I guess that's a matter for the parking authority. I don't think I have anything else. I think you've covered the issues germane to a variance. So I'll end my questions. Well, no, garbage has been answered. Okay, that's okay. I'm good now.
Any further questions, Councillor Dobson?
Yes, was there any consideration that 81 feet long was too long?
81 feet.
The length of the building,
Right.
when typically the rest of the street has substantially smaller lengths of buildings. So you're basically building a wall. So my concern was that a consideration?
No, I don't believe it was, other than there was a condition that limits the height to 30 feet. So that would prevent building a taller building, a three-story building, which could make the footprint smaller. But as far as this is a two-story building, and so the length was not seen as a concern. It generally meets the front yard setback requirement, and then there's a condition that it be no less than 50 feet from the back. That is related to railway safety, but that does ensure that it's not a wall or more of a wall, depending on your view.
A high wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Counselor Allard, that prompted a question by you. Did you want to piggyback on Counselor Dobson's question? Go ahead.
yeah, to the public service, I mean, I know Archibald as somebody who's, I think, fourth generation St. Boniface resident. Like, it's a high-speed road. The new builds being approved there are large multifamily builds. It seems to me all the surrounding areas are two or two family. So the I guess many of the existing structures are not in line with the already established zoning rights. And this is it's a 60-kilometer-an-hour. It's a big street. Like, it's the types of streets that you see larger developments go up on, and it's like it's right on a transit line, like in a busy one where there's still in many cases capacity on the buses. I can say from personal experience. So, just to the public service, isn't this the type of development? Our Winnipeg Complete Communities, isn't this the type of street that the council is directed to have like bigger buildings on, particularly bigger than single family?
So pick your favorite paragraph in the report that says you support the development and go for it.
Yeah, we do support high intensity development along mixed use corridors. This is not a mixed use corridor. It is an arterial street, quite a busy street, of course. But we do support infill development in neighborhoods like this, established neighborhoods like this. So yeah, it's not quite a corridor, but it is an arterial street. So we do given the size of the lot and its location in proximity to transit, active transportation, we are supportive of it.
Okay, any further questions, counselors? If not, we'll move back to the appellant on what he's heard. He's come back into the room, no doubt, paid for his parking, extended the parking. Thank you very much for your contribution to the City of Winnipeg Parking Authority. I'll invite you back to the table to listen to what you've heard. I can recap briefly, or you can confer for 2 minutes from your team that came today on what they heard while you were out paying your parking, if you'd like. But otherwise, I'll invite you back to the table. Go ahead if you want. I invite you back to the table. You provide no new information. If you're worried about that, I can, that's why I'm here. But go ahead and you respond to all and anything you've heard. Fair game.
Well, I guess I know the parking bin thing is kind of unresolved right now. But one topic they didn't, who's gonna look after these bins? Is somebody gonna come out Tuesday mornings, take them all out, line them behind, and the guys are gonna come out, I gotta move my vehicle? There's, and Dobson, I believe.
That'd be me.
Yeah, what he was saying about the vehicles, I totally agree. My truck is, I think, over 20 feet. And again, like you say, it doesn't leave you much room. So there will be encroachment into the back lane. So. And I did, when Councillor Eller did say about the, we're trading one for, for 6, you're gonna have a grand total of 5 extra. Well, it's really not a home. So again, my base on all this was you're destroying a perfectly good home to put in rentals. And like they said, the interest rates are high and everything, so families are struggling. And a lot of families, their dream is not to go into a sixplex. They want affordable housing, and where we are, it's affordable housing compared to Windsor Park. So I guess that's about all I have to say right now. So. And the fact that all the other multiple family dwellings were breaking ground, not breaking homes. So, thank you.
Madam Speaker, I don't know if this is a rhetorical question, but may I get in the speaking order, I guess?
Councilor Lord, do you feel you have other questions for the appellant at this time? Is that what you're saying?
The question is specifically, I heard that the proposed construction is not a home, and does the appellant truly believe that someone who chooses to live in a rental unit is not living in a home?
Would you like me to call the appellant back up, or would you like to leave it as a rhetorical question, Councilor Lard?
I would like that. I know so many people who have apartments that call their apartment home, and I'm
Councilor Lard, I appreciate it, and normally I do intervene if I think folks are engaging in rental prejudice. You know, for you, we'll call the appellant back up if he wishes to take the question. The question is, do you truly believe rentals units are not homes? You can feel free to take it or not take it if you wish. Let me know. And you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, maybe my wording was wrong, but an apartment can be home for others. But a family who wants to get a house to go into an apartment, which is, you know, the rent is quite high nowadays. They're losing one affordable house there. So if you see where I'm coming from, there's a lot of housing that's needed in this city right now. And I understand council, everybody wants to go up in size on all the lots, but to get rid of a good house to increase that, I think is the wrong way to go. There are countless lots in the city right now that are probably derelict. There's a good place for an apartment right there. Or sixplex, fourplex, whatever you want.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for your response.
thank you.
Any further, Councilor Lard, any further questions?
I feel that question was addressed. Maybe just very specifically, I think I heard from the applicant that there was no increase in size for the parking that would accommodate the size of vehicle that we're talking about.
I believe he said a question for you again, which is there is no. Sorry, were you asking the applicant this? Or
No, I'm asking the appellant because there's been discussion about the length of parking signs.
If you want to answer another question, he's asking, is there a particular length that would meet your pleasure?
As far as the parking stall,
If you could rejoin us at the table, sorry, I appreciate the questions are coming in not as quick a succession as we'd. So in terms of the parking, he's asking you to comment on the length of the parking. Is that correct, Councilor Allard? Okay.
so you want to, as far as the depth of the parking? Now, the depth of the parking to accommodate most vehicles, and I understand that there are probably hundreds of different types of vehicles, but if you go with a F-150 that's 20 feet long, some are even longer if they got 8-foot beds and stuff. You need extra room. Now, the garbage bins, there's no way around this. There's gonna be, they're gonna be in the way. And who's gonna be responsible? Is it gonna be a parking lot spot number 6 to do his parking spots for the garbage? Everybody's gonna be, like, it's a barely resolved, unresolved matter right now. But in the end, it's gonna be the neighbors who are gonna be looking at this.
Anything further, Councillor Allard, while we have him here?
I think that's been my questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. So any additional questions for the public service, or do we have wrap-up thoughts here, committee?
I have no further questions. I'll be ready.
We have the motions, yes.
Yeah, so we can entertain motions now, Councillor Allard, if you'd like, or did you need a break, you guys?
I
We have
can ask-
questions.
Ask one more question for the public service.
Yes, just so you know, the appellant will be allowed to respond, but go
That's
ahead.
just fine.
Yeah, yeah.
The sewer line from this, it's combined sewer?
Yes, yes.
Okay, is that not a concern for the city? What did the waterworks have to say? Is that gonna increase the chance of sewer overflows?
Because of the combined sewer, they will have to, store the water on site. So there's no, increase into the combined sewer. So that would have been addressed by the Water and Waste Department. So they're doing that, addressing that.
Councillor Duncan, you have a question too? Same?
Similar in nature, yeah, thank you.
Okay, anything further? All right. With respect to what you've just heard, you're allowed to come back as the appellant and speak to it in rebuttal if you'd like. So they just discussed an issue with respect to water storage and water and waste. I leave it to you if you want to comment. If you'll have to join us again if you want to comment. It is totally up to you.
Oh, I think I'm fine with that.
Okay. So councillors, this is your time to entertain motions if you wish to make a motion.
I'd like to move a motion, Madam Chair.
Councillor Allard, you're in order. Go ahead.
Okay, and this motion is going to be in line with some of the issues that the public service has indicated would be in the scope of variance, and will not include those things that are not in scope with the variance. So I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
And I move that in accordance with subsection 254 and subsection 250 or 247(3) of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the conditional use is consistent with Plan of Winnipeg, and any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. Do I have and then I would like to make some changes. I presume that's done at a later motion if this one passes.
Or discuss them in your supportive reasons.
Okay, for my supportive reasons, I've heard from the residents a number of concerns. I think a number of concerns are of general nature and are concerns that are seen throughout the city of Winnipeg, like the issue of garbage bins being placed or misplaced. I think that's something that all Winnipeggers living in similar areas face that have that level of service. On the parking, I would propose what was a lengthy conversation with proponent landowner in terms of what the proponent landowner might be able to support in the case of conditions being imposed on a variance. to address some of the residents' concerns. On the parking, I heard that there would be the possibility of adding the condition of a minimum of 12 bicycle parking spots, including 6 secure indoor parking spaces. This is an excellent location to use active transportation in Winnipeg. In particular, if you're cycling, you're not too far from downtown, and cycling is a very attractive option to getting around the city with all of the active transportation paths that have been built in the area, including on Archibald. I'm going to not impose or request anything on the accessibility front for the suites because I understand maybe out of scope of variance. Though that's something I raised personally, not that didn't come from the residents. There was concerns about the trees, and so I'd like to impose a specific number of trees if this goes forward. And from the applicant, I have, I guess, a new definition that I can work from with the size of trees. We've had many discussions about the sizes of trees in the past, and I now have a bit of a benchmark. And so I'd like to see an imposition of 3 coniferous trees in the front lot that have a minimum of 6 feet. And I would like to see, just looking back to my notes, I think it's, yes, 3 trees to be planted in the back as well, with one being coniferous at 6 feet and the other being deciduous, with the other 2 being deciduous with 3 feet calipers. And because I want to encourage endogenous plants that support plant and animal life in Winnipeg, I've learned some of these things from my mother, who's a big conservation almost expert. So I'd like to see the deciduous trees be oaks, and I would like to the coniferous trees to be white spruce, which also happens to be the Manitoba tree. I've covered bike parking. I will, yes, and I will not talk about 3 bedrooms at this point because I understand it's out of scope. I would like to send all of this to plan approval. As stated, I have done things as city councillor in consultation with the proponent landowner and the community to do things like move garbage bins around, look at the configuration of the site, which is essentially what we do with plan approval. But there's quite a bit of leeway there on addressing additional community concerns in more detail that are within scope of the application. And there was one more plan approval, and on the length of the parking stalls. I was considering adding a condition to lengthen them, but they're already bigger than stalls in parking lots, and I think making bigger stalls encourages bigger vehicles, and I don't think that's necessarily the direction that I want to be supporting. And as well, it's already bigger than the mall, and I didn't hear a clear alternative. And I think the answer was ultimately some vehicles are too big for any size stall that we would have proposed today. So I'm not proposing any changes on the size of the stall. I think the parking concern I've addressed in part through the if this passes through the additional outdoor and indoor bike parking minimums. So I guess, and in terms of more general view, we need housing. We need housing for families. I met many families that live in 3-bedroom units. Many of those families, yes, do look to buy single-family homes, and they can't afford it, and so they find a place that's suitable and pleasant for their families, and they live in 3-bedroom unit apartments. They're quite popular in St. Boniface. They do very well, And many of the tenants that I know have either no car or one car. And I think if you have more disposable income than that, you're either getting into that house that you want, or you probably don't have two cars. I mean, I don't have anything to back that. That's something I've seen from personal experience. And this is going to provide more eyes on the street, more residents in the area, excellent bus travel, excellent active transportation connectivity. It's a very good place to have 5 net new homes in St. Boniface Ward.
Thank you for that, Councillor Lard. Any discussion on the motion, Councillor Dobson?
Yeah, I will not be supporting this motion. My reasonings for it is the 81-foot wall of a building is just too much for this community. Inadequate parking space is a huge concern for me. Putting bike parking doesn't solve that. Questionable garbage and recycling. In my mind, I can see this hole in the back lane. Privacy concerns, the windows overlooking the properties because of the length of the building. Multiplexes, personally, I would prefer them on corners, not mid-block. And therefore, the insufficient buffering for parking. This is, you're turning the whole back lot into a parking lot. So I consider that wrong. And so I won't be supporting this.
Further discussion, councillors? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That was also me in favor. Okay.
Myself.
That was carried with Councillor Dobson in opposition. Councillor Lard, do you want to complete this motion and then move on to the variance?
Yes. For the reasons I've given, so I move that the appeal be denied and the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development be concurred in
Sorry,
with the following
sorry,
conditions.
you're actually allowing the appeal, right? Because you're making changes.
And confirming the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development with conditions.
Sorry, we're actually canceling, like we're concurring with conditions and we're canceling the order. But yes, we can add the amendments now. Do you want me to read through them?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're going to bring this back to plan approval to Rail Community Committee. So this means that I removed the first part of the substantial conformance part of the condition 5 will be removed because this plans will change. So this will come back to plans will come back to both Rail and the director. And then we have a few new conditions about adding trees. So Councillor Lard, we have that a minimum of 3 coniferous trees be planted on the rear of the property. Sorry, I'll maybe have you just repeat what you had mentioned in your sporting comments.
3 coniferous in the front.
In the front, okay.
And they're white spruce. 6 feet minimum. In the back. So one coniferous, white spruce. 6 feet minimum. In the back.
Okay.
So the first 3 were in the front, right? Coniferous. In the back of the building.
Yeah.
Just
And then in the back 3, so 1 coniferous and 3 deciduous as well, or two in the back, right?
deciduous.
Okay.
And I want them to be oaks. And there was a caliper size.
3 caliber.
means- Yes, 3 feet caliper minimum. So we know that we're getting bigger, healthy trees that are off to a good start.
Okay.
I also want parking minimums.
The next one was bicycle parking, correct?
Yes,
So you wanted 6 secure bicycle stalls on the interior?
yes. Yes, and exterior as well.
Okay.
But there was a different number on the exterior, I think. Minimum of
I think you'd mentioned 6, because it was a minimum of 12, I think you had said, so 6 secure indoor. And then
Okay.
like 1 per outdoor unit as well, which would be 6 then? Is that right?
So the condition would be 6 indoor secure bike parking stalls
Wait, where you're going.
with a total minimum of 12. And then the project including outdoor parking stalls for a grand total minimum of 12.
Okay, I got the bicycle one.
I think the others, am I missing one, or are the, I think all the other elements were out of scope of variance, and many of those could have been dealt with in plan approval, including privacy, where we can look at the orientation of windows and shades and that kind of thing.
At plan approval, sorry.
Like the privacy concerns, I believe, can be addressed at plan approval. Things like window placements and shades and that type of thing. So I don't think that's part of the conditions.
Yeah. Just so you know, you wouldn't have my support if you had have moved or deleted windows. You know, this by right, a 2-story house can have windows on all sides, so I'm not amenable to moving them. So just for discussion, Councillor Lard, you're not doing that, but just so you know.
Okay, good.
Call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried with 1 opposed, Councillor Dobson marked opposed. And then you want to,
I move the conditional use order DCU 146452 2024C be confirmed with the conditions that have been added.
Cancelled, because we'll make a new condition. Yeah, or a new, sorry, new order.
Okay, so I move the conditional use order. I repeat.
Against.
yeah, that was carried with Councillor Dobson motioning against, and then Councillor Allard, back to you.
The conditions are there.
Yeah, they are. And you're gonna move that the public hearing with respect to this appeal be concluded?
Yeah.
Moved by you. All those in favor? Carried. Unanimously. Moving on to the variance. Councillor Allard? You wish to
One
move?
second. Yes.
Okay, do you want me to prompt you?
Sure. I'm waiting for the script to load right now.
So Councillor Allard, you're gonna move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read, so moved by you. All those in favor?
I
Carried with Councillor Dobson opposed. You're gonna move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
You're concurring.
Oh, I'm okay with that, but you're right.
All those in favor? That was carried unanimously. You're gonna move that in accordance with subsection 2473, the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and does not applicable secondary plan, does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including the area separated from the property by street or waterway, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to alleviate the injurious effects of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property be affected is situated. You wish to move, Councillor Allard, all that? And provide supported reasons? Are they the same?
conditional use reasons.
Same as conditional use reasons, so moved by Councillor Allard. All those in favor?
Opposed.
That was carried with Councillor Dobson opposed. Councillor Allard, over to you. You wish to allow the appeal in part and
No, I deny the appeal.
So for the variance, because we moved everything for the conditional use, the variance will will be denied because the appeal would be denied. We allowed it for the conditional use. So this one would just be denied the appeal and concurred in with the director. Because this one, we're not making any changes to, that's correct, the
so
variance.
that the appeal be denied in the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development be concurred in. Do you wish to move that motion?
So moved.
So moved by Councillor Lard. All those in favor?
Aye.
And all those carried with Councillor Dobson opposed and Councillor Lard.
That variance order DAV 14649/2024 CB cancelled.
This one's confirmed, sorry, Counselor.
Confirmed. All those in favor, so moved by Councillor Lard. All those in favor?
Aye.
That was
Okay.
carried with Councillor Dobson opposed. And do you wish to move that the hearing with respect to this appeal be concluded, Councillor Lard?
Yes.
So moved by Councillor Lard. All those in favor?
Aye.
That was carried unanimously with thanks to all the parties and really appreciate you coming down, sharing your thoughts.
Oh, is it over?
It's over.
Yes, 5 minutes.
Well, I just want to invite the community to come to the plan approval when it eventually comes, or if it eventually comes. When it,
Okay, well, you have their contact information and I can confirm you were heard in the meeting chamber here.
okay, thank you.
If anyone needs a 2-minute break.
Yes.
You do. Okay, we'll take a 2-minute health break and then we'll come back with the appeal for the variance of 611 Burbank Street. 2 minutes. All right, we're back in our appeal committee regular meeting agenda. The final appeal of the day is 611 Burbank Street. We'll start with a notice from the clerk, Carly Belsky, and then we'll move into a summary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 3 is an appeal against the decision of the Director of Planning, Property and Development to approve a variance for 611 Burbank Street under DAV 147229A/2024C. Members of committee, please note communications were received in support of and in opposition to the appeal, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. We have no participants joining us over Zoom today, so if we could just have a summary from the planner, please.
Yes, thank you. So this property is located on the west side of Burbank Street, at the northwest corner of Burbank and Fleet Avenue. This is in the central River Heights neighborhood of the River Heights Fort Garry ward. The property has an area of 6,720 square feet, and it currently contains a 1-story single-family dwelling. Under the Complete Communities Direction Strategy, this property is in an established neighborhood mature community policy area, and it is located in the infill guidelines area. So the infill guidelines that were passed by council apply in this case. Under the Winnipeg zoning bylaw, this property is zoned R1M, a residential single-family medium zoning category. The applicant proposes to split the property into 2 separate lots, demolish the existing house that's on the property, and build 2 separate single-family dwellings. Each of these dwellings will be 2 stories in height. Plans show that vehicular access to the site will be taken from the back lane at the rear of the property. To accommodate this development proposal, the applicant has applied for a variance to allow one of the proposed lots to have a lot area of 3,000 square feet instead of the required 3,500 square feet under the zoning bylaw. The public service approved this variance subject to a number of conditions in order to ensure that the development is compatible and aligned with the infill guidelines for the city. The decision to approve the variance was appealed and is before this committee today. Thank you.
Any questions at this juncture, committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the appellant.
Sure. Yes, we have a few appellants joining us in person today. We'll start with Richard Goddard. You'll have up to 10 minutes after you state your name.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Richard Goddard. I live next door to 611 Burbank Street. Just one thing I'd like to mention is I flew home. My ears have popped, so my hearing is very poor, and I just hear an echo when I talk. So,
Well, welcome home.
I'm ready to submit my appeal to the possible new build construction at 611 Burbank Street in Winnipeg. I, Richard Goddard, moved into River Heights over 25 years ago, and I am a homeowner and neighbor to the north side of the property at 611 Burbank Street. I do believe in new development and in new developments being built, renovating of homes in existing areas, or replacing a home with a new home when required. This area of River Heights has provided my family with a home to enjoy, privacy of our home, a quiet time in our yard and our neighborhood. When researching and moving to Winnipeg, a lot of talking to people, realtors and all that stuff, River Heights came up all the time. In the brochures, city websites, conversations with realtors, everybody talked about River Heights. The community is known for its beauty, the large lot size, the history of the character of homes. That's why people choose to live and buy these homes in the area with sidewalks, streets with less traffic, well-developed tree-lined streets, with beautiful tree canopies, public parks, and schools. The proposed lot splitting is not in keeping with the character of River Heights. People who know about River Heights and those who have chosen to move into River Heights in the area to see the new build as a complete change and loss of the aesthetics of River Heights. Build concerns. As the developers are only doing this as a sheer profit, these homes will be sold for approximately 900,000 plus, which do not match the initial idea of City Hall of building for affordable homes. The lots in the area are 50-foot wide lots and some are larger. These lots are in character size of the neighborhood, and splitting of this lot into two separate with a skinny home to be built on each section does not keep it with the character or the look of River Heights. Winnipeg has an ongoing aging population, which requires homes that are bungalows and can be found in River Heights. Most of these homes are accessible for all and are desired and can be found in River Heights. The tall, skinny homes built do not support accessibility or for the aging population. Recently, with the representative came knocking on our door for support in the bill, said that one of the main issues when they originally came was the secondary suites. He said, if you sign for support, because we have eliminated the secondary suites, so we need to know what the truth is, because when we got our letter stating that there would be no secondary suites, they're not designed, not plumbed for secondary suites or any of that stuff. And then we got the plan shows that there are secondary suites in these homes. So he came around asking for support because they were single family homes, nothing to do with secondary suites in them. But the plans do show that they do have secondary suites in them. So coming around asking for support, asking the people to sign for this under a false presentation act of what he was doing. If the thought is to build homes for families, to builds contain little.
Yes, Councilor Lard, just hold on a second. It won't either way. Yes.
Blind or reliable here without any evidence.
I'm sorry, Councilor Allard, could you repeat what you said?
I'm worried we're getting into slander or libel without any evidence.
So, Councilor Lard, thank you for that. You know, at this time, he is asserting what he understood with respect to someone coming around in consultation and the density that he was presented with. I may have missed something, but what in particular do you think is slander?
Well, it's just I'm hearing. I guess it's first person testimony, but without supporting evidence, I'd be nervous saying these types of things personally. But perhaps I'll retract my my objection for now.
Well, I didn't hear slander. I did hear that there's an assertion that someone came around in consultation with a secondary suite attached, and that was now part of the piece. So continue on. You're doing fine.
Thank you. Recently, the thought of building homes for families with two builds contain little outdoor space for families to hang out, plan, live in a green space. The character of River Heights is slowly changing as these homes are being built. Same designs, same layouts, and same yards, with not much green space being provided. These homes being built are either being rented out or sold shortly after purchase as they've become not suitable for the homeowners. With this constant change, there seems to be a constant flux of people coming in and out of the neighborhood, which is not what normally occurs in the River Heights homes. It wasn't long ago when some lot splitting came to the table, and the documents I found were easily accessible on the city website and pages that stood out. One that stood out that I found said, some of the councilors, new mayor turned down a variance, splitting some lots, saying this went through, it would set a dangerous precedence for other builders to do the same. The proposed lot split would not be inconsistent with the existing lots, home styles, and in the area. It needs to be what the area already has. Then comes the money from the federal government, and it's become a free-for-all. The federal government makes a decision to offer money to cities for new housing and affordable homes. In order to qualify for some of this money, the City Hall makes a quick reverse decision on what all thought was the right thing to do. The city has taken the easy road to get the first round of money. Now anything goes and we can get the money. What the community citizens think now no longer matters, because it did. We certainly wouldn't be here today. If your goal for the City Hall is to build more affordable homes or homes in general, try offering better incentives to builders for vacant buildings, the empty lots, especially in the downtown area, the heart of the city. This would help with densification, more affordable homes, and increasing the population in schools in the area and support of the safety in the area. Without the builders, are only going to go to build where they can make the most money. If City Hall were to do this, there would also be a huge cost savings for fire, paramedic, and police. Infrastructure that exists in River Heights. There are many problems regarding our sewer and hydro that are already in the area. As most people have watched the news, British Columbia has moved ahead with the style of housing before we did and are now facing some huge impacts. Do we have the research and supporting documents to show that everything is up to code, and how many more houses can be added to the existing infrastructure? Why are certain areas protected from this? For example, Linda Woods, parts of Wellington Crescent, and there's been certain places in Tuxedo where lot splitting has been brought up. They've met the infill guidelines and everything else, but they have been denied. I question the equality and fairness when decisions are being made as a Winnipeg citizen. Concerns for my family for this new build. This new build is passed for our privacy, quietness, and change of green space, and will greatly affect us. I would like to see, if this build goes forward, I'd like to see certain things changed and in writing before anything proceeds regarding this build. For examples, the south side windows should be all piano style horizontal windows located at the upper portion of the wall for our privacy in our own yard. Ground level deck to ensure our privacy, not a deck that's already 3.5 feet off the ground. Eliminating the walkway on the north side would protect our quietness and having people walking along the fence area, and only have the one walkway as proposed in the build on the south side between the two builds. And the fence height increased from 6 feet to 7 feet for privacy and at the builder's cost. The location of the air conditioner and sub pump drain to be on the south side of the new build, not by our south wall. Increase the caliper size of the trees to replace the ones that will be taken down for the build to occur. The existing trees provide us with great privacy now, but they will be removed for the new build. As you've all heard, River Heights is an older area with well-maintained homes on large tree-lined streets. Many of these homes are from the wartime era and older, with tons of original character, but with modern charm inside, which makes them part of our Winnipeg history. Some of these homes are still getting bought and renovated, but many are losing out to the pockets of developers who know that they can tear down the houses, split the lot, and try and sell 2 expensive homes, and if not, then rent them out. In the meantime, fill the landfill of a house that could have been saved and renovated, and there's nothing wrong with the current house. Within the character of the area, modernized and still affordable. Thanks for your time, and hope you really consider the impact in our neighborhood and community and city as well.
Mr. Goddard, thank you very much for your comments, and thanks for persevering. I've been there before. Councillor Duncan has a question for you, if you'll take some questions.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask that the proposed amendments to the plan just be repeated by the
Yes. So you listed some amendments that you'd like to see should it move forward, and Councillor Duncan's asking you if you'll repeat the list that you had. I believe it started with piano windows.
Okay. The south side of the house, to change some of the windows, there is a couple piano style windows there, but there is a couple larger windows on the south side of the house. To change those to piano style windows to protect our privacy. Instead of having a deck that is, I believe it's about 3 feet or 3.5 feet off the ground, have that come down to the ground level. That means that people aren't sitting there looking directly into our backyard. Eliminating the walkway on the north side of the house. There's no need for walkways going down both sides of the house. So for increasing our privacy and quietness, just have the walkway on the south side of their house. Increase the height of the fence to 7 feet. Location of the air conditioner and the sub pump is to drain on the south side of the house, so we don't have to listen to the air conditioner as we sit in our backyard. All our neighbors, myself and our neighbors, all our backyards are designed for the way the houses are laid out. So our patio area, main patio area is set off to the southwest corner of our house, where this air conditioning unit and all that stuff would be proposed to be put. And just because we were losing all the trees to this build, to come up with large caliper trees.
Any further questions for Mr. Goddard? Okay, if not, thank you very much for your presentation today. We'll continue on. Who's next?
So, we have the next appellant joining us in person is Steve McMahon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. McMahon.
McMahon.
Okay, thank you.
Much better than what the telephone solicitors.
Okay, is that right? Welcome.
Steve McMahon, thank you for having me, and nice to meet you all in person. I live on Boarbank, have so for the last 20 years. We were very fortunate to get our house in a time of overbidding for a lot of properties and stuff like that, so we were quite happy. I do have some concerns about the business model for these type of developments. The city does benefit from, I guess, getting 2 taxable homes out of one space, current space. But the after effects in my time, I do a lot of work in the neighborhood. Most of my client base is in River Heights. And I see a lot of properties that have had these infill homes constructed on them. Some of them have been built and left at lockup stage. Others have just flat out turned into rental properties, which isn't increasing anything as far as home ownership goes. And it creates a bit of a turnstile when it comes to neighbors and getting to know community. I find them to be a detriment to the neighborhood, and especially this one in particular, because for Central River Heights, and I say Central River Heights is cored into Grant from Lindsay to Cambridge. This is a precedent-setting development or redevelopment. I realize it's a mature community, but it is a mature community for reasons, and that it's a well-loved community. And I don't see these type of structures helping, and that's a policy issue that, you know, our infill policy is to fault, I believe, at this point, that the regulations were not tight enough. When I say this is precedent setting for Central River Heights, there are no other homes that have been torn down and the lots split, to my knowledge. It has all been, if there has been any, it has been a single family home that has been reconstructed on site. And I'm not opposed to that. It keeps with the values of the community as it was set forth and grandfathered with. Yeah, this just becomes a glorified, overvalued rental property. And I'm sure there will be some people that will clamor to come to the neighborhood and willingly pay. But I don't see how someone would pay, if the numbers are correct, in excess of $750,000 for a skinny tall home with no yard and limited parking on site, when you can go to Wellington Crescent or any other South River Heights or a neighboring community and get more value for your dollar. It just seems like there's a significant flaw in this business plan of the developer. In a recent Free Press article, it says that the city was somewhat boastful. Our honorable mayor who I have met personally, not on this matter, but on a social occasion. And I say respectfully, that we have a goal of 8,000 infills, and which we want to meet as a city. And apparently, according to and I didn't bring the article with me to submit as evidence, but we were in the 6,300 to 6,400 ballpark right now of completed tasks of that 8,000 homes. We're well on our way. This is without having the redevelopment at Polo Park. This is without having the development along Kenaston with the treaty lands. We are going to be meeting those goals, that 8,000 mark, without those even coming online. It's going to take a little bit longer. But if we can pause on these types of infills that are going to upset the apple cart, so to speak, in this neighborhood, it would let the developers catch up with the aforementioned Polo Park, Kenaston developments that are hopefully coming online to ease the housing. I really would have appreciated a Habitat for Humanity to step up and bring something forward for this community. But I think everything's just cost prohibitive for them. This development at 611 Borebank is totally incongruent to Central River Heights. The split lot is the issue with me. If they had changed and just went with a single family home, I would have met it with applause and said, hey, great. I believe at the previous presentation, there was some discussion about the developer had said that the basement had some issues to it. Well, nobody on Lindsay or Borebank has gone without issues with their basement because it was built on a former creek bed. So that should not be a reason to demolish this house. It is livable, it is fixable, as has everyone. You can talk to anyone who repairs basements. They say they should just buy a house on Borebank because they're constantly there fixing. Be close to their work site. If all else fails, and this development does go ahead, I kindly ask that, because people will be avoiding the blockage of the lane due to construction vehicles and possible messes in the laneway, could we please have our back lane addressed for potholes, because it is a shambles. And I have never called 311 recently to address it, nor have I instructed my neighbors to do so, but it'll rattle your bones. So anyways, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Duncan.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First off, we can address the potholes today. I can send something off right now to have the back lane between Borebank and Lindsay inspected by street maintenance, not a problem. Regarding the lot splits, I hear you. I'll be asking the public service if they can draw on any comparables for this neighborhood. What would you say then if the builder here built a single family home with a secondary suite, accomplishing the same, essentially doubling up of the property here for?
I would be in favor of that over, because I could do a secondary suite.
Right.
I could build a garage with a secondary nanny. So that would be congruent with existing plan. It's the lot split that I find is killing our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Anything further, councillors? All right, thank you very much, Mr. McMahon. Next up.
We have a third appellant also joining us in person, Stephen Ritchie. Stephen Ritchie here. Okay, is there anyone else? Oh, sorry, and then we have Gregory Babiak, also in support of the appeal, so you're not in favor of the project. So you can come have a seat again.
So I didn't really do a presentation or
That's
anything,
fine.
but yeah, both my wife and I are opposed to the lot splitting. She was here at the original appeal. Where she sent a letter because we got a letter from the city that about all the changes in that. But the architect came multiple times to our house about with this, and our main concern is the lot splitting because it is smaller. You guys have approved a smaller lot for the secondary lot. We're opposed to that. And I'm not sure if there's a rental suite. First, now I'm hearing there's a rental suite. I think that this city planning should look into that if there is one. If it's a single house only and there's no lot splitting, then I'm with the other two. I'm fine with that also. I do have a concern when it comes, we're the property right behind 611 Burbank. So this construction will impact us. I want to ensure that our garage and that back lane is not blocked so I can get both our cars out. We both work in the healthcare setting, so they cannot be blocking our back lane under any time further when their construction takes place. I don't know, is that a reasonable request?
Typically we don't take questions, but I'll just say that, when, let's say one of your neighbors gets a pool, construction does happen, or
Yeah.
you're redoing a yard and they're bringing in, the fence products, right? So
Yeah, that's
similar
a
to
one-
that,
That's a 1 day thing.
similar to that, or landscaping, it can be a one day.
Right.
Pools can sometimes takes 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Or more, depending on the lineup or the outfit that's doing it. So, typically it's blocked maybe one way, blocked another. You've likely experienced this before, even if just one of your neighbors runs in, moves their garbage, you have to go the out way.
Never had a,
Never.
we're on the corner of Fleet and Lindsay,
Yeah.
so we don't,
So
we
typically,
should be able to get out relatively easy.
Yeah.
I've just,
typically, it's not forever. It's just, one way you have to go the next. It happens. But good points. Do you have more? You still
no,
have
whatever.
lots of time. Still have 7 minutes with us.
No, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, any questions then? Committee? Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anyone else here whose name I haven't called who would wish to speak in support of the appeal for 611 Burbank? In support of the appeal? We can move then on to those in opposition, and we have the applicant joining us in person today, Mr. Tejinder Pal Singh.
Need help with my.
Please.
Good afternoon, councillors.
It's great. You can play with the settings.
Thank you.
Can I just present it as it is? I'm not too friendly with Windows. So I'm a Mac guy,
Yeah,
so
so, if you
either somebody
just-
can help me zoom out to full screen.
don't need full screen, but if you want to just do your
I can just
presentation,
do it as it is.
yeah. Right? There you go. And then you just toggle, right? Then you go next, yeah, that's also good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, councillors. My name is Tejinder Singh. So I'm here to present the appeals hearing for 611 Burbank Street. It's a lot split variance application. So this is the current house and site. It's a 1954 built 972 square feet bungalow, 56 feet by 120 feet deep. It's a corner location of Fleet and Burbank. There are two underlying lots present over here. Lot 69, which is the internal lot, and which is towards the east, is 31 feet wide and 3,720 square feet. Lot 49, which will be the new corner lot, is 3,000 square feet, 25 feet wide. You can see lot 69 and lot 49 over here. One of the lots is 31 feet by 120. Once they are split, we don't need any variance for that lot. It meets the zoning bylaw of minimum lot width and lot square footage. We are here for the variance for the new corner lot, lot 49, which will be 25 feet wide by 120 feet deep. It is a paved concrete back lane over here. So we did email area councillor, Mr. Orlico, as well, because we wanted to show our commitment that we are engaging with the community. We sent out registered mails to the residents, and this is just my email sent to Councillor Orlico affirming the same. So this site is very close to some restaurants like Domino's, 7-Eleven convenience store, which are located on Corridon, which is on the north side. In the south side, we have Real Canadian Superstore, restaurants like Dairy Queen, gas stations, and schools like Montrose Elementary School, John Brebeuf School, J.B. Mitchell School. They all are about 5 minutes away from this site. It also has nearby park like Brock Fleet Park over there. The points to consider: this site is a corner lot on Burbank and Fleet Avenue. Planners did support the development of split into two lots. Design have been prepared in consultation with the planners. Water and waste has no capacity concerns for two single-family houses. We did engage with neighbors and shown them our plans on May 4th when I physically went over there. Plans were also sent via registered mail on April 14th and May 6th again of this year. We got support from 612, which is right across on Fleet, 612 Burbank, and then the house right in the front, 619 Burbank, and 690 Burbank Street. It has a paved concrete back lane. Plans have been modified from the last application, which was submitted last year. No trees are being cut on the property. We are preserving existing trees in the back of the property. This shows the registered mails which were sent out and our commitment to engaging with community. These are signatures of support, which I discussed earlier. 612 Burbank, 619 Burbank, and 690 Burbank. This is the email from Water and Waste, where they don't have any service capacity issues regarding two single-family houses. So this is the design of the lot 49. This is the site plan. Here on the site plan, you can see that there are two trees in the back, existing trees, which are being preserved. On top of it, we are planting another new tree on this lot, plus 4 new shrubs to make it look attractive. There will be green space over here. 6 feet height wooden fence will be provided on both sides. Over here, green area, landscaping area is 41% of the lot coverage. Building lot coverage is 26% versus permitted 30% as per the infill guidelines. Again, 2 existing trees, and we are planting 1 more additional tree. There are 2 parking spaces, 10 feet wide in the back. So here you can see the front elevation. We are providing bed and boards, stone veneer, acrylic stucco, and fiber cement on the front elevation, and the same thing we are doing on the corner, which is on towards Fleet Avenue. The height of these houses is 26 feet versus allowable 28 feet as per the guidelines, infill guidelines. This one is lot 69, for which we are applying no variance. This already meets the zoning bylaw. Now, in this particular situation, what we have done is from the plans submitted last year, the side yard with the neighbor on 607 Burbank, we have left a side yard of 9 feet versus allowable 4 feet as per the guidelines. So that his privacy concerns and his concerns that the house is too close to his property, all those sort of things have been mitigated, although we can go up and until to 4 feet as per the zoning bylaw, but just to be considerate to his concerns, we have shortened our house. So the house is 18 feet wide and the side yard has been increased. And here the lot coverage, because we are building a smaller home, has reduced from 25 feet, which was in case of lot 49. Here our lot coverage is just 21%. The allowable as per the city guidelines is 30%. Soft landscaping on this lot is 53%. We are planting another new tree and 4 shrubs on this lot. Nothing is being cut. No existing trees are being cut over here. 10 feet wide parking stalls in the back are being provided, and we can accommodate another 8-footer stall because we have another 9 feet of space. If the committee wants, we can add another stall if there are any parking concerns. So again, on this house as well, our front material consists of stone veneer, acrylic stucco, and fiber cement board, which is typical of River Heights homes, and acrylic stucco as well on sides. The windows on this house on the north side, I believe, on north elevation have been offset to mitigate any privacy concerns for the next door neighbor. And the windows on the second floor are not as high up as the windows of 607 Burbank are, because I personally checked it on site. So these windows are offset in relation to his properties, and also we have provided some piano style windows instead of full windows. So these are 3D renderings of both new houses once they'll be finished. These are the old plans which were submitted in my previous application. Although they did have secondary suites, the current plans don't have any secondary suite. This is 607 Burbank, which is next door neighbor towards the north. It's a 1.5 story house, approximately 25 feet high. It's similar in height to what we are proposing. So in my closing comments, we ask for your support on this project. It's favorable to city's densification goals since it's a corner location. Design matches character and surrounding single-family homes. Similar projects approved in River Heights on Lindsay and Burbank Street in the past. It will help in solving housing and rental crisis in the city. Our plans meet the current infill guidelines as well as they meet the new proposed bylaw amendments that are going to come later down this year. We are planting 2 trees and 8 shrubs with grass in front and back to make it look attractive. We did thorough consultation, no balconies or secondary suites provided. Increased side yard with 607 Burbank of 9 feet versus 4 feet, which is permissible. Plans match character of River Heights, perfect example of increasing densification along corner lots with infill housing. Thank you for your time and patient hearing. Although I have one additional comment to make. there was some comment made regarding secondary suites. So in our plans, which were submitted to the planners, did not have any secondary suite in their report, which they prepared. They have made an error in preparing the report, and they have wrote that there are attached secondary suites, and plus lot 69 has a house of 23 feet wide, whereas even in the plans attached, it shows that our house, both the houses are 18 feet wide. So it is some type of error on part of planning. And you can read that report that's attached.
Okay, I think there's a question for you, Councillor Duncan, or Councillor Dobson. Maybe I didn't have you
Yeah.
in order.
Well,
Do it now.
through you, you've solved my secondary suite question. How many square feet are each of these buildings?
These are about 1,500 total.
1,500, and does that's not including the basement?
Basement is unfinished, sir.
Okay. How many feet are between the two buildings?
Between the two current buildings, it's 6 feet, three on one.
each.
Yeah, whatever, which is allowable. I
Yes.
could have gone more, but I have increased the north side yard from 4 to 9 feet.
Yeah, which is, I've got to say, this is one of the best informative presentations I've seen in a long time. I very much like the fact that your windows, you've addressed a lot of concerns for the windows. That's great. You've left a 9-foot side yard. How many entrances do you have? One in the front, one in the back?
One in the front and one through back, like through the kitchen, so that they can, if they are coming through their parking, they can enter their kitchen, or they can have a small barbecue or something.
Good, thanks.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just go through the list here that the presenter provided to us here. Would you be amendable to altering the windows on the south side to promote, I suppose, ultimate privacy by having them all as piano windows?
Sir, there is only one big window over there, that is for the third bedroom.
Yeah.
At least they would want some sunshine like the neighboring house is entitled to. And secondly, we have already left a 9 feet side yard that would mitigate any of his concerns, right? Somebody peeking into his yard or his privacy.
Would you be amendable to having the deck at ground level?
There is only one deck in the back that is at ground level. There is no,
It's not 3 feet off.
like, the deck is along with the stairs over there.
Right.
It's not high, and with the fence being 6 feet high.
The question was, yeah, like I can see that, you know, you have a elevated exit off the back. I'm supposing it's approximately 3 feet. Public Service can give clarity on this when they give an opportunity to, but any sort of decking that's out the back, would you be amendable to having a ground level?
Again, it would impact so much that it will hinder our chances of getting this application through. Why not? I'll amend it.
Okay. Would you be amendable to having, rather than a 6 foot fence on the south side, to have a 7 foot fence on the south side? I'm not sure if that's within code.
6 versus 7. I don't think there's I wouldn't be able to confirm completely, but I don't think there's any code implications in that.
To me, some kind of special permit or variance for taller than 6-foot fence, but.
Yeah. It's a fire.
Okay.
Oh, the fence?
Yeah.
Sorry, the fence height that would require a variance.
Another variance,
Yeah,
okay.
6 is the max.
Okay, so then when it comes to, the air conditioner on the south side, can that be positioned at another part of the building for the south lot?
Like the lot towards Fleet Avenue?
No, the one that's,
That's the-
north side, sorry,
No,
your south side neighbor, so not having the air conditioner essentially up against their property.
despite of us having a 9 feet side yard still. And again, if it is such a problem, then we can obviously modify the air conditioner. we can change the position. It shouldn't be that much of a issue.
Right, you did mention some trees. Do you have any intention on what caliper those trees will be?
Sir, I am not sure about that.
Okay, so I'll ask the public service about what a large caliber tree would be considered. And you'd be amendable to that?
Yes, why not?
Perfect. Okay, and then in regards to the split lot as opposed, if I may, sorry, Madam Chair, I'm going on here. In regards to the split lot as opposed to a primary house with a secondary suite, can you walk us through that decision-making process as the developer here?
I'll just point out on behalf of the applicant that there was no lot split on this application. It was an underlying lot.
Right.
And so we're just looking at a variance, but applicant can
Sorry,
also say the same thing.
I can rephrase my
Yeah,
question.
I'm not-
Rather than applying for a variance, why would you just not go the route of a primary house with a secondary suite?
Okay, so
Yeah.
if I build a primary house with secondary suite over here, as per the zoning bylaw, I can do a lot coverage of 45%. So that'll be a huge house. The cost of that house, if I'm selling it, it will be in excess of 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million. Okay, and that is not our goal over here to increase intensification. City of Winnipeg needs housing as well as it is, let me put it that way. It is in our best interest and society's best interest if two families are accommodated over here with houses in range of 600,000 without secondary suites and versus like one house, 1.3 million, and it's not catering to like medium income or people who want to come over here and live in. That comes into periphery of luxury houses and it will be difficult for me to even sell that.
Yeah, I mean, Madam Chair, I could argue that point all day. It's an assessed value of $574 for that lot right now. So, you know, I suppose we'll see what you list them for if this is approved, but this is a $700,000 property all day long as you have proposed here. Are you, sorry, I guess my question would be, Madam Chair, are you arguing that this is affordable?
No, I think he's saying that he's just not in the luxury housing business. That I don't know.
So if I build a 1.3 million house, it's difficult for me to sell them. Versus, let's say, even if I go by your calculations, if I'm building 700,000 houses, it's easier for us to sell them with these high interest rates. Most families won't qualify for that 1.3 million home. And plus, they will not want to buy that 1.3 million home here. They'll rather buy it in Tuxedo or Charleswood or new developments.
Well, I appreciate the compliment for my ward, but we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I would argue middle income here, but that's okay. Sure.
Thank you very much. I don't see any further questions. Thanks for your presentation today.
Thank you so much.
I'll just double check if there's anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to the appeal for this property. Is there anyone for information who'd like to speak for information? No? Questions of the public service then at this time?
Questions? I think there are something on the public service's mind that they want to correct the record, but Councillor Duncan's.
Yeah, just any clarification that they can provide to my
Sure, yeah, so,
inaccuracies potentially.
well, yeah, so,
Vote market.
yeah, I will weight it to that too much other than,
Sure.
yeah, no, this,
I guess my one market question, Madam Chair, would be that around comparables for the area, in all seriousness.
comparables in terms of,
In terms of, I don't want to use the term lot splitting. I don't believe it's accurate here. Using underlying lots.
oh, yes, and that was something that one of the appellants had raised, was that in Central River Heights, this would set a precedent. Is that what you're asking about? So, yeah, that's my quick scan of things, over the last 5 or so years. We haven't seen any splitting of lots or subdivisions, that require variances in Central River Heights. In North River Heights, there has been several. The housing stock is typically older, in the north of Corridon. That's the older part of River Heights. Across the tracks, and I know this is not Central River Heights, as my grandmother who grew up on Burbank would say, but across the river or across the tracks to the west, there has been, on Renfrew, some of those streets over there. But yes, in terms of Central River Heights itself, this is the first time that we have seen this type of development where one lot is being made
Underlining
into-
lots.
Yes.
Yeah, we have lot splits
Yep.
there, but not the underlining lot, which I looked at it too going, where's the lot split? And I looked at the report going, where's the lot split? And then, these are underlining lots, so it isn't, typically you got a lot, but you don't have two underlining lots in this part.
Yeah, that's correct. There are,
Yeah.
this block, there are other underlying lots, but as far as what development has occurred, we haven't seen. This is the first to,
On corporate.
yeah.
Yeah, versus, to have these sort of this type of development, you've got it the next block and the next block, but not necessarily this block. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this type of development hasn't happened anywhere in Central River Heights that we've seen in the last number of years.
Councilor Duncan, any more questions?
Just any clarification you can provide me around, as I ask the, applicant, yes, the applicant. Just anything that you can clarify for record.
Yeah, so that was an error a typo error in the admin report, stating that there would be secondary suites constructed. I did double check the plans and they do show that there are no secondary suites proposed.
And that will be maintained?
That's what they're showing in their plans presently. They are permitted as anyone else with a single family lot could, down the road construct a secondary suite. But they are not showing that in their plans at this time.
Because they're permitted as a right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and you clarify that.
Again, to the public service, if they were to put a secondary suite, they'd have to put another entrance in, would they not?
Yeah, that's my look at it. I mean, this would be reviewed by plan examination staff, who look at, fire exits code,
Exactly.
that type of thing. But my look at the plans is there's two doors, one to the back that comes in through the kitchen, and one at the front, of course. So how that would be likely would have to be part of any secondary suite that's built down the road, is providing a suitable entrance.
Another entrance.
Yeah, I don't know unless something could be worked out through the existing floor plan, but I don't know the details of that.
Yeah, sure. We can touch on the fence and the deck or whatever else that came up here. Deck, fence, and air conditioner placement. Any comments from the public service?
Sure. Yeah. So the fencing that goes in, that is allowed in side yards and backyards, is up to a maximum of 6 feet. So that is what they're providing. The decks that they are showing are just under 3 feet off the ground. So they're less than 4 feet. I was just looking to find information on this, but I don't believe that, a deck, it's not a concern, in our view, is having a deck area of that height when it's, less than 4 feet. Air conditioning unit, and so this is for the north property, the one that has a neighbor.
Yeah.
An existing neighbor. Just want to look at the site plan as we're going. Thanks for your patience here. So see with that property, that proposed lot, that would it be 31 feet in width? So the north lot, next to the existing house, it's got a side yard setback of 9 feet from that property. And the air conditioning unit is located at the rear of the property rather than along that side.
At the rear?
Yeah, at the back side of the house.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what page that would be on.
Yeah, I see it. I see it on both of our screens here. Okay. Okay, and then just in your opinion, large caliber trees.
Yeah, that's another thing I was looking for information on. I mean, in the infill guidelines, we have requirement for at least one large tree be planted, but that is what it grows into, you know, in terms of, you know, the size that it will eventually become. But as far as the caliper at planting time, I don't have information at this time on what would be considered large compared to medium or. Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Councillor Lard, questions for the public service?
It's not a question. It's I want to formally apologize regarding the concern about slander and or libel. I can perfectly understand why a resident would have been confused as to what was going on, given the administrative report is not in line with the proposed plans. So I want to put that on the record. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lard. Anything further, councillors, for the public service? If not, we'll go back to the appellant, who will have 10 minutes to speak to us in rebuttal. Mr. Goddard, if you want to join us at the table on what you've heard, and hopefully you've heard everything. If not, you can ask a question in all fairness, because we don't have mics in here. So, you know, with respect to, you know, the flying in, you're welcome to join us at the table, and then spend 10 minutes in rebuttal on what you've heard with respect to the conversations that have gone on since you last were at the table.
I guess the biggest concern is what happens with, you know, when the infill guidelines came along, federal government started offering more money. We started making bylaw changes to adapt things to allow all these things to start going through. Realizing that, hey, all of a sudden we can build some more houses in River Heights. They find these underlying lots. It's an easy way of getting around bylaws, is finding a lot that has underlying. Split the lot, build 2 houses. Our concern is that our investment in the area and all that stuff was based off of what we moved into and what we bought River Heights for. If they wanted to build a single family home there, put an income suite in the basement, we don't have a problem with that. It's just fitting the character of the homes. When they say they match the existing homes, we've seen a picture of my house on there and the 2 pictures that he proposed. Do they look anything like a River Heights home? No. When we did the addition on the back of our house, we consulted with our neighbors. One of the biggest issues we weren't allowed to have was any windows that weren't piano style on the side of our house. We put the addition on the back because we did propose having a window like they had. Wasn't allowed. We had to have the piano style at the top of the ceiling in order to have a window on that side of the house. When I questioned him on his drawing, if you look at the drawing accurately, you'll see on both sides of the house, our house and the house next door, there is a stone veneer on the side about halfway down, right at the top of the stairs that lead to the basement. That veneer and the concrete cutout is the exact same size of the side door. It's easier to get around and get approval when you eliminate the income suites. So they said, when he came to our place, was that we're proposing just to present as single family homes. And I said, well, what about the veneer and the concrete cutout right at the top of the stairs? It's for future in case they want to do it. We're doing it now. And that's why it's all there. And it's the exact same size of the door. We allow all these things to happen today. And also what happens is once it's built, they apply to get the income suite built because they've already got the house built. The income suite goes in. Now we're back to 4 family homes, less privacy, more strain on the system. I do hear about the sewer stuff that, you know, they sent the thing that, yeah, we measured, there's a calculation they use for how many flushing faucets, toilets, all you have in the house, the size of the sewer line that comes from the house to the street. We're gonna end up in the same situation as BC is right now with allowing all these homes. When they present it to the city guide, well, we do the calculation for how many flushable faucets not are draining in to go to the sewer system. Nobody actually did the calculation of the sewer capacity. River Heights sewer system is already outdated, was supposed to be replaced in 2045. They've tried doing some work to help solve some of the issue because it is a combined sewer and is now being pushed, I believe, to 2090 because of the budgeting. So we're going to keep adding these houses to the system. And we're the ones that have to pay the price. We have a cap on our insurance for our basement because of the sewer systems. And if you look at River Heights, Lindsay Street, I know he was saying that these houses haven't really happened in Central River Heights. Lindsay Street, they started off with a couple infill houses. The developer is quickly buying up the houses next door because nobody wants to sit in a house that is towering a single story home in shade all day long. That's why you notice they started off with, I think it was two skinny homes, and I think they're now up to 9 or 10 now because they're just working their way down the street, down Lindsay Street. None of these houses fit into the area. You take a look at our picture. We renovated our house when we bought it. We could have easily put a 2-story house in, but it would not fit character of the area. That's why it's still a story and a half. We consulted with our neighbors on the window placement. We relocated our air conditioning unit that was in the backyard, kind of similar to what they're proposing for theirs. It's now up in the front corner because there's no opening windows and nothing in that area. It's a dead zone between the two houses. So we relocated our air conditioner up there to accommodate our neighbors. It had nothing to do with our addition to our house that we did or anything. But I do not believe these houses fit the area. And if this is allowed, the rest of the houses on our street with underlying lots, it's an easy way to get this infill housing passed. And then once they fill these lots, all they're going to do is you take a 50-foot wide lot and you just apply for a variance to get the lot split. Well, you're already allowing it for underlying lot. So the city's going to look at, hey, we can make some more money, property taxes. Allow them to split these lots, these 50 foots and 25. It'll be inconsistent with the rest of the houses that we've allowed. Where does it end? Just because the federal government gave us money, this is what we're going to do? It was just before 2020 when the current mayor and some councillors that are still here said we cannot let this happen. It would ruin the neighborhoods that people have invested and built. It all changed because we got money from the federal government. That's why we're doing it. We need affordable homes, not houses. He already mentioned that the house would be, first house beside us would be probably just around $1 million, slightly over $1 million. And the house next door would be between $850,000 and $900,000. They're not affordable homes at all. That's about what I have to say.
I don't see any questions, but thank you for your time today.
Thanks.
We have 2 additional appellants that spoke today. Steve McMahon, you're also welcome to come speak in rebuttal.
I don't really have too much to add. I just wanted to, it's all hearsay, mind you. The height of a neighboring fence, I was told, was 6'4" is the maximum. And that was the only thing that but that's, like I said, it's hearsay. So I think that's,
Anything further?
no, that's it. I think I'll leave it for the rest. Thank you.
So I don't see any questions for you. Thank you. Yeah, come up and even rebuttal on what you've heard.
Sorry, you're Mr. Babiak.
Yeah.
So you're actually not an appellant on the file. You were just in support of the appeal. So you don't get the opportunity to seek a rebuttal. I'm sorry about that. Okay, Stephen Ritchie wasn't here. Well, you had more time to speak, so you're welcome.
If you'd like to both come up together and if you want to give some of your time. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Right. In the presentation from the developer, he showed Mr. Singh, yes. He showed signatures from neighbors that had signed. One of the signatures allegedly is from a renter in a house. I don't know if that is inadmissible as a approval. Well, that's what we're saying, is that we think that one of the signatures is from someone who's renting a house adjacent to the property. So And the other apparent, again, hearsay is the other signature was confused on when signing in approval for the development.
Anything further?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
That concludes the rebuttal portion, so be time for motions.
Yeah, anything further, counselors, motions, buy you some time?
Well, I'd be prepared to move a motion, but I think, I think, Councillor Duncan had some ideas. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Yeah,
I'm also, so I'm a little slow out here.
That's all right, Councillor Allard. Councillor Duncan, did you have something ready?
I don't have anything ready here. No, I'm torn on the whole precedent setting piece in this particular neighborhood here. However, you know, it's not before us about lot splitting at this point in time. It's the underlying lots, but the appellants do bring up a valid point that opens a door wide open for the entire neighborhood now.
So, Madam Speaker, hearing that, I would have a motion. If I were to move it, it would be in line with the public service and the applicant. I don't know what the appetite is of the committee. But that would be my intention if I were to move a motion.
Go ahead, Councillor Allard. As the chair, I'm just waiting to catch a motion here and then we can discuss the motion.
I move, and perhaps as my script load, you may help me as you did last time, Madam Chair.
I can do that, Councillor Allard, knowing that your intention is to support the application. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you help me with the script?
Okay.
Because,
So would you like to move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read? And
I would like to move.
all those in favor?
Aye. Second.
Any opposed? Taken as read. Any opposed? No, okay, that was carried unanimously. Councillor Allard, would you like to move that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg, the charter of the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by street or waterway, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. And do you wish to put supportive reasons on the record?
Yes. So, I mean, I think this type of development is the type of development that we need. We're talking about single family homes being built. As we heard in previous hearings, people are looking to buy single family homes. I do acknowledge that, to Councillor Duncan's point, homes are not cheap these days, and that's something I think that's going to become even more of a trend. But certainly, building a single family home instead of two single family homes would make that one single family home quite a bit more expensive, as described by the applicant, in order to achieve highest and best use for the property. I'd also like to say that I think that in terms of community character, I've seen excellent design by infill developers that has created homes that meet the community character. And if that's a concern, we could always send plan approval to community committee. However, I think these plans they're acceptable to me at this time. So I think people want single detached dwellings, and I think we need a mix of housing. We need all the housing, and this would create two new houses where currently there is one. And I think the applicant has done their due diligence and their job.
Thank you, Councilor Millard. Is that your motion and with the support of reasons?
Right.
I'm gonna walk through a bit of the logic of why I'm supporting your motion. I do have a question, with respect to the air conditioners and their current positioning. I think they're at the back. And I don't know if it's friendly, but large caliper trees, I think is enough said. Insofar as large caliper trees, like that connotes a larger tree in a garden center. But I'm a nerdy gardener, so you know, I think that some addition of those, I think would maybe a friendly amendment, but I'm gonna ask you, Councilor Allard. And I'm gonna double check on the positioning of the air conditioner, because I sort of liked some of the, you know, the requests that Councillor Duncan may have been pursuing. He will speak for himself. But while the public service is looking at those two things, I just want to say for the record, in support of your motion, Councillor Laura, that this does come. And it's a novel one. I'm a city councillor, so my ward is the contiguous ward to this. I used to be the school trustee in the area, so I think I actually recognize Mr. Goddard, but you know, I can't even remember if he voted for me as school trustee. So it's not a conflict. But you know, I know this street. I lived on Beaverbrook. You know, this is you know, I used to live on Lanark, so you know, I've watched this develop over time, and including housing developed by right. And so it occurs to me, if you were on this property, you could develop by right without variance, and it would have been approved by the department. And that's how it comes. It comes as a director approved, because there's so much rights associated with this. And I'd like to correct a few things. It's not because we got money from the federal government, and we are doing rezoning for that, but this still wouldn't be part of the grants that we are moving out the door here for affordable housing, because it is not necessarily affordable housing here. We're just creating what a lot will support by right here with a small variance. And 4 years ago, prior to the Rapid Housing Initiative and the National Housing Strategy, the federal government, I approved these as a counselor. You know, 6 years ago when I started on council, 5 years ago before the RHI and the National Housing Strategy really started to rock and roll. And these aren't necessarily what the, you know, as council we're subsidizing. This is what's happening by right as a matter of turning over, you know, older housing stock that we need to do. Is it precedented setting? You know, perhaps. Are there other forms like building a larger house that will come? I think you have seen this in River Heights, not necessarily here, but in adjacent streets, you have seen larger homes being built, and you've also seen larger homes being built to which there are you know, that there are two-family housing. And at this corner lot, that might have been an idea. But, you know, largely I'm agnostic on, you know, what developers or residents, because, you know, a younger family could have come in and said, I need an income lot, and done exactly the same thing. It might not have been a developer. It could have been, you know, someone who wanted to downsize, which I do see in neighborhoods too, because we see a lot of developments, because that's what I do every day as chair of property development and as a local counselor. And so there could have been a lot of reasons how this comes to be. In this case, we had quite a frank discussion today about you know, Mr. Singh coming to the table and say, this is the market I want to hit. And I think that that's fair. I do think, the market supports a variety of things in River Heights, including this. I think stylistically, you do see this style. So I look at, the infill, the largest piece of infill that's gone into River Heights as of late, the Lanark Bay development, to which you see this type of style come in. In terms of looking into yards and such, generally speaking, whether you're the, 3-story houses that can see into my backyard, or you're a multifamily dwelling, you're going to look at your neighbors, at your kitchen sink. You're going to enjoy if you're sitting in your bedroom, you're going to, have the modesty that you have as a neighbor. And not all of us have that, but, you're going to, behave in ways, whether you live in a rental or whether you live in apartment or not, that's a concern. We hear often, but it is, if you have a tendency to leer at your neighbors, I don't, whether you live in a rental or you live in a home, you could, it's just not something that is before us in terms of decision making. And I don't think you're any more likely, whether you live in a lot split, a rental, a condo, to leer at your neighbors than you are if you're a homeowner. And so generally speaking, that's not what I rule on. I do rule on the relative safety. And so we are really looking at our capacity issues as a city. And that is what the federal government money is hopefully helping us with, in the dialogue with the federal government and the provincial government with respect to how much they want us to grow as a city and how fast, because we are hitting up against capacity issues. In this, if folks had come before me today and talked a bit about problems draining and their basements, and under Beaverbrook and Lindsay, you do have those underwater sort of River Heights issues. Then that I might have leaned into that a bit, and that's not to say there wasn't excellent argumentation here. People came, and I just want to put words on the record of where we're at and walking through this. So with respect to the underlining lots, with respect to this being a corner lot, and with respect to the care and concern that we did hear from Mr. Singh, with respect to the amount of space that he is trying to hold for the neighbors in between the homes. I think that there was some care and concern. If it's a friendly amendment to add some large caliper trees, I'd add just one or two here. If it's a friendly amendment, and I'm just going to check in with respect to the air conditioners, if they're placed in the back, but if they were, on either side of the homes, if they're placed in the back, then there's no change. I do believe that there are piano windows here. I believe bedroom windows there. I don't believe in not having windows just because there's existing windows in River Heights where you can see each other. I don't want to limit windows. We're usually agnostic on rental. We don't zone people, we zone property. So I don't typically comment on rental or ownership, but I do have these in the ward that I represent. Two examples, I want to say maybe not with the high quality finishes we're seeing here in front of us today. And, two brand new homeowners that I've welcomed into the neighborhood off Stafford. They're being well used by families and that were just finished. And for those reasons, this application has my support. And I do think that, these have the potential of being just as high quality neighbors as folks on the street. Construction's a serious concern. And so, like Councillor Duncan said, we called in those back lane potholes today. If the team is amenable, and I think it's a friendly amendment to add some high caliber trees, we do want to replace the urban canopy and I saw that folks were amenable to that today. The decking looks modest to me. It looks like it is a deck that is meant to, I don't even know if it has enough room for a barbecue. But it is meant to sort of get in and out that door. Basements are a little higher and we like that for storage. So for those reasons, I don't think I'm amenable to, a change in the decking that we did contemplate sort of in and around the questions. With respect to fencing, it's 6 feet and it's 6 feet for public safety reasons. That enables our first responders to scramble over top. So that's why it takes a variance to get anything higher. But typically with the fill that is required by new developments, they end up being higher than the adjacent property to begin with, which means that adjacent properties have to worry about soil remediation. But I want to, say I think these will be solid additions. I don't think they'll distract from the neighborhood, and I think there's a good possibility to there's enough room here with the very large slots to do it. It's not necessarily that it'll, be precedent setting. I do think some of these houses have to turn over because of their age. So for those reasons, it has my support. Anything further for discussion, Councillor Dobson?
Yes,
You
first
liked
off,
it from the start. You thumbs up. You said you did. You had an open mind, but
first off, I'm very positive that they're single family homes. There appears to be no intention for secondary suites as there is only 2 entrances. So that's a very positive thing. The developer has provided a 9-foot side yard to the north against the other property. And that again is another positive thing, as well as piano windows and the AC is in the back. These are all positive things. I will support this.
okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, just looking at the motion here, I know that the public can't see this, but we have a wording that goes ABC that's been read already by Councillor Owens for Councillor Lard. And part D is or is not compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. So again, we're not talking about lot splits here. We're talking about using underlying lots. However, I keep coming back to what the rest of the area looks like. And, seeing the support from this, unfortunately, regardless of my vote here, it appears as though it will be denied the appeal, but I'm stuck on that in this case. So I won't be supporting the motion here as I don't believe that it's compatible with the area.
So moved by Councillor Lard. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed?
Post.
That was carried with Councillor Duncan in opposition. We'll move that the appeal be denied and the decision of the Director of Planning Property Development be concurred in. Councillor Lard, so moved by you?
Yes, as long as we can get that tree amendment.
That allowing the appeal and concurring with the following amendments.
Okay, so you'll allow the appeal in part and concur with the addition of a large caliper tree?
Are we sure we're concurring in the appeal, Madam Clerk?
So allowing the appeal, and we'll be canceling the order to issue a new one if we're making changes, but we're allowing the appeal and concurring with the department that it should move forward, but just as amended.
Okay, as amended, so moved.
Yeah. Sorry, so that was 1 or 2 large caliper tree? One?
Councilor Rowland, I don't think the number was discussed. I heard openness from the landowner in terms of moving the project forward.
Yeah, one each would be 2, sorry.
They're showing one.
And they are showing 1 each, so if you want 2 each, let me know.
Okay, so 2, are we gonna do deciduous and coniferous again?
I'm not, I don't typically dictate typology, Councilor Lard.
Yeah, I want to ensure a certain size of tree. It's my understanding if we're descriptive on 6 foot for coniferous and 3 foot for caliper, for the deciduous, that we know that we're getting a certain size of tree,
So
but.
when you say a caliper tree, that it typically is an older tree and it has a certain diameter in stem or trunk measure. So it typically isn't the height. It is, yeah. So when you say a caliper tree, that actually defines that it's a larger, older tree. To me, that's sufficient. Yeah.
I think caliper was the circumference of the base of the tree in terms of deciduous, and for coniferous, the evaluation was based on height. But I defer to you, Madam Chair. If I have in the past prescribed those things, but I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm comfortable just saying, you know, here's the tree caliper, because one's measured like, anyways, a younger one's typically measured like 3 feet, where these ones end up being 5 feet typically, but it's not typical, like it just depends on what you buy, and so I don't want to dictate it. But like a large caliper tree, just like,
Leave it at that.
yeah, I think leaving it that is fine, in my opinion.
Adding the condition of 2 large caliper trees.
Okay, is it like it's one additional, because they already planted one, so one additional one on each lot, correct? Which would make it 2 trees, is that correct? Yes.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Allard. All those in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Are you, okay. Okay, that was carried with Councillor Duncan marked in opposition, and so you're gonna move that variance order DAV 14729 to 2024 be confirmed? Like be canceled as amended, sorry.
Be canceled as amended.
Yes,
Clerk?
yeah, and a new variance order will be with the terms will be provided.
So moved.
Councillor Allard, all those in favor? That was carried with Councillor Duncan in opposition, and then you'll move that the public hearing with respect to these appeals be concluded with thanks to the parties.
So moved.
So moved by Councillor Allard, all those in favor, that was carried unanimously, and Councillor Duncan will move adjournment.
So moved.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.